There we go. Officially live. How's everybody doing? EJ, it's TNF, it's Cowboys, it's Giants. The annual primetime game. How you feeling?
I am well. I actually enjoyed researching this as strange as that might sound. It doesn't seem like a good matchup. We were moaning about it last week, and the more I dug into it, I'm not saying it's going to be a great game. I'm not going that far. But there are some really interesting points on both of these teams. So, I don't know. I'm kind of pumped. You know me. I'm a football junkie. This is going to be good.
You would think it's going to be an easy win for Dallas because usually this matchup is an easy win for Dallas. However, this is, I think, one of the more interesting wrenches in this game. EJ, did you know that 31 out of 32 teams in the NFL have played at least 6 games all time that are on the road on 3 days rest? There is one team that has never done that, ever, and that's Dallas. Because Jerry usually gets his way. He doesn't want to do road games on 3 days rest. So for, 20 years, or 15 years at least, that TNF has existed, the Cowboys have never been a road team on TNF with 3 days of rest. Until right now. So we saw that clip of the Dallas offense basically doing a walkthrough on the field, like a full speed walkthrough on the field before the game, which you don't really normally see. It's because they didn't get to practice this week. It's the first time in franchise history that they've ever been in this situation. So they're like, we're going to do a walkthrough at MetLife Stadium an hour before kickoff. And it's a fascinating wrinkle to this game. It also makes me think that we really don't know what we're going to see tonight because we have literally never, ever, 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 ever seen the Cowboys in this position.
And it's a bit of a gross matchup for Dallas. If we're being honest, they cannot stop the run. We've talked about this on multiple podcasts already yet this year. And Zimmer's got to make some functional adjustments to stop the run. Until he does, nothing else is going to matter, literally, for the entire rest of the team. They're allowing 185.7 per game on the ground. Weirdly enough, I have my own weird stats for this. Weirdly enough, these two teams are tied for the worst yards after contact per carry in the league at 4.02 each. So they are tied for 31st in the NFL. After they hit a ball carrier, that ball carrier gets, on average, 4 more yards.
How is that even possible?
Right, exactly. It's really ugly. So it's not going to be an easy go for the Dallas D. Because through the first 3 weeks, Devin Singletary has forced 19 missed tackles, which is good for third most in the league. So it's not going to be easy enough to hit him in the first place. And once he gets hit, he's actually pretty good at yards after contact per carry himself. So he's going to challenge that very poor run defense. And opponents are running outside of the Cowboys at the 3rd highest clip in the league. They are challenging the corners and safeties to steal the edge, and they aren't, or they can't, or both. And so the beatings will continue until morale improves, because the NFL is a heartless league. And if you're getting away with something, folks are going to do it until you can stop it. And so far, the Cowboys have not proved they can stop really any run, but literally 63% of the runs going against Dallas are outside runs, and they are giving up a bunch.
Big thing is the defensive line. I don't want to call it a brain drain because it's really more of just like a talent drain on the defensive line. They've lost their depth, and so basically they're relying on a front four of Micah, Tank, Mozzie, and Osa to do everything, which then requires Mozzie to be taking a step forward that he's not doing. It requires Tank to still be Tank. He's taken a step back this year. And you got Micah, with his hand in the dirt, trying to be like a run-stopping edge player that he's not really that either. Like, he is a speed-rushing edge. Not that, like, he can't play the run, but, like, if you're relying on Micah Parsons to anchor your run defense, you're already in a bad spot. And if you're relying on an old, I don't want to say washed, but let's say not really close to his peak anymore, Eric Kendricks, you want to call that washed, fine. Like, that's your starting linebacker. It's just not a recipe for success. Like, they don't have the mass up front. They don't have the speed up front. God, Overshone's like the only player I'm kind of like remotely excited about on the second level there, and he's not a full-time player for them right now. So I don't know, man. If there was ever a time for the Giants running game to completely take a game over, it's probably right now, because I don't really see an easy fix for this for Dallas unless they just jump out to a lead and go into pass rush mode, because that's kind of the only defense they know how to play, is just rushing the passer.
Yeah, and even so, their pass defense on the Dallas side, not great. The secondary struggled in its transition from Dan Quinn's scheme, to Zims, and the injuries are piling up. That's a big part of it. They don't have all their players. So far, I would say average is the best descriptor for the Cowboys versus the pass. They're 15th in terms of team sack rate and QB pressures, 13th in EPA per pass play allowed, 9th highest yards allowed per pass play, and 8th most yak yards allowed via the pass. So they don't have a lot of great stats on the pass side. We typically think of them as a dominant defense against the pass, because they were last year. They were absolutely dominant. They were one of the very best defenses in the NFL against the pass last year, and we expected that to continue, and it didn't, or it hasn't so far. So nowhere near as dominant as they were in that phase last year. And we're about to see if that Andrew Booth trade with the Vikings bears fruit or not, because Kalen Carson's dinged up. Probably going to see some Andrew Booth tonight.
Yeah, boy, if you're hanging your head on Andrew Booth at this point,
this is where we are.
You're digging deep. I also want to talk a little bit about Malik Neighbors. He basically has been their passing game so far. Not that hasn't worked. I mean, you saw last week, again, for the third straight week, they're like, Malik, you're going to be the guy, and he's been the guy. What I'm really curious about is if Dable exploits a lot of the weaknesses that other teams have exploited against Dallas in the past, using a bunch of condensed formations and running crossing routes and basically making these DBs play in space. They have great press corners. They don't necessarily, or when everybody's healthy, Dallas has great press corners. But if you don't let them play press by using motion and formations, and you make these guys play in space, that's been how people attack Dallas, i.e. every Shanahan-type team known to man. Guess who also loves to run crossing routes against middle field close structures? Brian Dable. So that's kind of a key thing I'm looking for here, and it's a big reason why, if we pull up the Underdog slip, I did take... Keep in mind, I have two of these. I did take Malik Neighbors as first TD scorer tonight. That's my big swing, because I think Dable is going to have a really good script in this game, because there's not a whole lot that Dallas could have changed in the last 3 days. They don't get any time to prepare for this game. So I think Dable's going to have a good script. I think everybody's going to think everything is going to funnel through Malik again. So that's my big swing on this one. I also have Devin Singletary higher than half of a rush or receiving touchdown for reasons we've talked about. I took Brandon Aubrey higher than 1.5 field goals, because I think Dallas is going to get there, but I don't think they're going to finish. I took
okay bet on a kicker.
If you're going to do it on any kicker, it's going to be Brandon Aubrey, like at all. Daniel Jones I took lower than 31.5 passing attempts, because I don't think he's going to need to. And I took Dak higher on 260.5 passing, because I think he will need to. Gives you an idea of who I think is actually going to win this game. My second slip, I kind of cheated on this one. I used my Patrick Mahomes free pick for this week, because every Underdog customer has an existing Patrick Mahomes free pick. So I took Mahomes at half a yard. I took Brian Burns at higher than half a sack. I took Malik Neighbors at higher than 72.5. Didn't do the touchdown, just did the yardage, because, again, I think everything's funneling through him. I played both sides of the Dak coin on this one, just in case they completely shit the bed. I took Dak lower than 260.5 passing, and then I did Devin Singletary higher than 61.5 rushing. So those are the two entries I got rolling tonight. Again, if you want to tail that, if you want to fade it, whatever you want to do, if you use this QR code that's going to be on the screen right now, or the link in the description, use promo code BOOTLEG. You get up to $1,000 in deposit bonuses. Of course, you get the Mahomes free pick. You get, what else is the other? I think it's Lamar. I think Lamar is the new customer free pick for this week. So lots of free picks, lots of bonuses. If you want to make this game remotely more watchable than it probably has any right to be, play along on Underdog with us tonight. You got about 20 minutes to get in your slips. EJ, anything jump out at you as crazy in those?
No, I actually like them more than I normally do. For those of you
Yeah, you
playing along
usually
at
hate
home,
my entries.
You usually have some ones that just make the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Usually in the first slip. I don't know why that is. Again, I don't get to see these before you all get to see them, and it's interesting. But no, most of those seem possible. Not necessarily going to say probable, but I feel like you have a better shot to hit those than you typically do. You talked about Dak, and you kind of played both sides of that coin, but Cowboys are passing at the second highest rate in the league, 68.4%. And that's largely because their rushing attack is lousy. You and I were joking about this when they were going through the walkthrough and they were actually practicing a run play. And I was like, why bother? You can't do it. Like, it's not going to help. So even though they're passing at the second highest rate in the league, 68%, their EPA per play is only good enough for 22nd in the league, which means high volume, low return. They're doing it a lot. They're not getting a lot out of it because opponents know they have to pass. So they've given up the 11th most QB pressures in the league too, because everybody's like, pin your ears back and go get Dak because, about 70% of the time it's a throw. So we can just gamble on that, run to a spot and see if he's there. And they're getting by with that. So 30th in rushing yards per game, 29th in rush yards per play. None of this is surprising to any Cowboys fans who've watched them play this year. There's not really any easy answers here. A lot of times we're like, well, if they do this, this is the way they can win. I don't have any of that for you tonight, folks. Dallas is in a rough spot. The talent drain on the coaching staff, really over the last 2 years on both sides of the ball, is catching up with them, and they haven't really adjusted all that well.
I'm not ready to say Dallas is a bad team, but
they play like one.
Yeah, that's the thing, is they do play like one. And they play up and down to competition constantly. They're like the NFC Steelers in that regard. But they're just so maddeningly inconsistent. And this is the exact type of game, being the road team on 3 days rest. This is the exact type of game that if Jerry had ever allowed them to do it in the last 15 years, they probably would have lost some of these because Dallas has been this way for a while. So, yeah, I don't know. When you combine, again, the Giants aren't world beaters either, but when you combine the Giants being better this year,
yeah,
and the Cowboys being substantially worse in a lot of ways, it feels like you have an evenly matched game. And an evenly matched game on no rest as the road team, I just don't think that's a game Dallas normally wins. So I'm going to go Giants as the winner. Are you doing the same?
I'm going to take Giants at home because I think the matchup, and again, if you'd asked us a month ago, we would have picked the Cowboys in a wash here. And over the last month, things have changed. So again, I'm with you. The home team on more rest, and I think they have a sneaky kind of chance straight up outside of those factors. Even if this was on a neutral field with an equal amount of rest, I still think I would take the Giants in a squeaker, but I would take the Giants.
I want to get to a couple super chats here before kickoff. First one, of course, from Shantron. Wow, I can't talk yet either. He says, "Yeah, here we go," for $2, mimicking the Dak cadence, of course. Thank you, Shantron, for your contributions.
Fun fact, Shantron, on the wall of the Star, which is the Dallas practice facility, up above between the first level and second level in the hallway, they have "Here we go" in like 11-foot letters spread out over like a 50-foot banner. So yeah, they're into it there. They
have fully leaned into the "Here we go" cadence. We got Matthew Wright for $5. Thank you, Matthew, for that. I drafted Anthony Richardson in 3 leagues. Is it time to bail? And if so, should I bother even having him rostered? Wow. Okay. Well, yes, keep him rostered. As for is it time to bail, I'm still not there yet either, but I would have hoped that you drafted another quarterback that you can spot start if you're feeling antsy about it. His trade value is basically nothing right now, at least when it comes to fantasy. So I don't think there's a good way to quote unquote bail. I would just say I really hope that in like the 13th, 14th round you picked up, God, who would be a quarterback that went in that range?
Gardner.
Yeah, Gardner went even later than that typically.
Yeah.
I would say it's like, oh God, I don't want to suggest Levis. Who
That's
went
kind
around
of
the 13th round?
that's kind of the same thing. Richardson's problem right now is just wild inconsistency. He obviously had the moonshot in week 1, got us all excited. He is not doing enough of the, I will say, basic quarterback stuff right now at a consistent enough level to be threatening. He's derailing drives with inconsistency. It's not an effort thing. It's not an ability thing. He's got to figure out how to dial it down and not miss some of the gimmies. And when he does that, if or when he does that, we will see a much, much different player. But right now we have these crazy hyperbolic highs and then a whole lot of what the hell is that? And that makes it tough to win in the NFL.
Carr and Baker, those are two like solid 13th round fantasy quarterbacks. At least quarterbacks you could have gotten around there. So I hope you got one of those guys, because those were typically like a backup that was packaged with a high upside risk, so to speak, of AR. Sherney for $2 traded Zay and Ferguson for JMO and Ertz. Thoughts? Ooh. I think EJ is going to like that more than me, because EJ loves Jameson Williams. The Ertz part is what gets me.
Fantasy's a different thing. Ertz is sneaky still. He's like that real slow, real heavy duty train that just like delivers the mail on time.
He's Jason Witten. He just outslows everybody. People are like so used to fast athletes that he just like waddles his way, on these stick routes and just gets 8 yards every single time. And they're like, what the
keeps doing it, keeps putting up numbers. So the combination is really interesting, but I mean, you're gambling on situation, and fantasy is all about right situation, right time. And again, JMO is a little bit the AR version of a receiver right now. He has these super high highs, and then he has weeks where they target him 3 times. He catches 2 of them, and it's for 19 yards. Doesn't help you a lot in fantasy. So best ball, totally different deal. Best ball, you're going to get the points whenever he puts them up. Fantasy, if you've got a roster and put him in the lineup and you've got to choose to, you've got to hit it, right? And those make for frustrating fantasy players. So in real life, love what he brings to the Lions. In best ball, sure, why not? He's going to give you a couple weeks that might win you, those weeks, or maybe eventually your league. If you're playing fantasy week to week and you've got to actively put him in the roster, boy, it's got to feel like a little bit of roulette every time you do it.
Yeah, Zay is probably the more consistent, and I would say Ferguson's probably the more consistent one too. So again, if you're going for peaks, JMO and Ertz. If you're going for just the smallest possible valleys, it's probably Zay and Ferguson. Speaking of, I was watching Zay tape. Boy, there's a few plays that Lamar really wants back where Zay was wide ass open, like 40 yards down the field, and he had him, and he just didn't pull the trigger. Like Zay very easily could be leading the league in receiving yards right now, like very easily. And I know Lamar's kicking himself for not pulling the trigger on a couple of those.
For folks that don't watch tape, there are those every week in every team's
film. He's got a lot of them. Zay has a lot of them. All right, Ben Hermes for $5. Thank you, Ben. As a Commanders fan, I really think we might win the division this year.
Ooh. Okay.
Well,
I mean, it's possible, but you got to beat the Eagles probably.
Yes, you have to beat the Eagles, but also like you have to survive the attrition that they've had on defense. And when you're putting Mike Sainristil as an outside corner against Jamar Chase because you literally have nobody else, because Michael Davis is done and Igbenogany they couldn't trust either. So you're throwing a rookie nickel out there as your outside corner because you literally have nothing else. I think their corner problem is going to be a nightmare for them. I think Arizona's going to run for like 150 yards this week because of that. So you could sell me on wild card because Jaden's been so amazing. Winning the division, it's just not a complete team right now.
That's what I think is, and you all will hear this on the podcast that comes out tomorrow while I'm driving to California. We talked about Jaden and where he is right now after his breakout game and what that really means. And he's not complete, but the easy decision is he's easily good enough to take second in that division, which likely means a good shot at the wild card. I don't think, like you said, that team as a sum total is good enough to topple the Eagles over a 17-game season. We'll see. Things happen. He certainly played very well, and I am so happy for Commanders fans right now that hope is springing eternal. It's been so long since they've been hopeful about that franchise at the whole level in terms of ownership and the direction and coaching and a quarterback, and like all of those things coming together in the nation's capital kind of warms my heart, because that was some of the earliest football I remember when I spent first grade living in between DC and Annapolis in Maryland. And so, early Washington football is some of, those are great teams. And it was a completely different franchise, and having it seen go all the way through the valley and now come back up the other side, it's pretty cool for those fans.
It kind of feels like 2012 with rookie RG3, that energy, right?
They were vibing for sure.
But like without the Dan Snyder of it all hanging over everything, where you just assumed Dan was going to ruin it, and then he did. It just feels better this time. It feels a little bit more sustainable. Just Vibing for $50. Thank you very much, Just Vibing, once again. It says, for the record, I went 6 of 7 on my game picks, and the only wrong prediction was Texans-Vikings. I had a very good Sunday for no reason in particular, though. Brett. Yeah, I kind of got the Houston game wrong a little bit, too. And even then, like, you could have sold me on either team winning. I did not think a blowout was in the cards. I really didn't. And the Vikings are just a tremendous team right now. If they have to play again in January, we'll see, because it's hard to beat the Texans like that twice. But, is there a true weakness to Minnesota right now? I really can't find one. I truly cannot find a weakness to the Vikings right now, and I think we're seeing that play out every single week with how the defense just chews up quarterbacks, and Darnold's taking shots and, leading game-winning drives even when like 80% of his receiving core gets hurt. The offensive line is vibing. Aaron Jones is playing really well. Like, they don't even have Hawkinson back yet. Like, we haven't even seen the best version of this team due to injuries, and they're just annihilating people. I don't know, man. I think that might be the best in the NFC. Like, number one in the entire conference, which I did not see coming.
No, if Darnold worked out, they were going to be good. Good meant maybe challenging for the NFC North, or certainly a strong wild card. I'm with you. I think they're one of the top 3 to 4 teams in the NFC without a question right now, and they might be number 1 or 2 depending on week to week and the matchup and anything else. And no, we did not predict that coming, and it's, again, really cool to see a team hitting its heights, as you said, even before we've seen the full power of that team.
Somebody in chat said McBride or Komet this week. Well, you're basically asking EJ to pick between his kids. So
I love me some McBride. The matchup's pretty interesting in terms of going against that Commanders defense. Komet, had nothing all season and then had a good game last week for the first time. He's pretty static as a target. You're not going to get a ton of yak. It depends on whether or not your league, weights receptions or yards more. He's going to get probably, I would say, like 6 catches for 6 to 8 yards each. So that's what
the endless stick route.
You might get a touchdown. You got one last week, so I would actually sort of lean towards regression. He's not going to have one 2 weeks in a row. He just hasn't looked that dynamic yet, but that connection's starting to form up with Caleb, and that's a very good thing. So I'd probably lean McBride, but I wouldn't be sad with either of those. It's not a lot of times you all bring us these choices that are like, well, would you rather slide down a slide full of razor blades or drink a gallon of snot? And we're like,
give me the razor blades, I guess.
It sounds terrible. Like, I don't want to. No, both of those options are good for once. So love it.
I would probably lean Komet just because I think Arizona's just going to run the ball. I really do. Eric Ciliacs for $10. Thank you very much, Eric. The Bills really told the Jags, you're not worthy to be on the field with one-handed Josh Allen. Mitch Trubisky is more your speed, then scored as many points in 10 minutes as the Jags did all game. Okay, well, when you put it that way,
that's basically what it looks like. That's a fine summary.
That's kind of what happened. Yeah.
No, we fully agree that, if anything, the Bills might have just sped up Doug Peterson's exit from Duval. Like, I'm friends with Mia O'Brien, who's the Jags reporter for 1010XL in Jacksonville, and she had put out a tweet before the game that says there's only two ways this is going to go. Either they're going to get run off the field and seats are going to get hot like immediately, like right now, or they're going to win this game, they're going to win next week, and we're back on a roll. And obviously one of those things happened very decisively, and the owner was incredibly pissed. And I don't know that that's going to go away. I mean, when people say that's going to leave a mark, that left a mark. Like, you're not going to forget about how that felt or how that looked. And look, it's a national game. It's a Monday night game. Like, the whole country's watching, including all your other owners.
My guess of how it's going to go is ownership is going to tell Doug to fire Press, and Doug's going to say no.
And so he's going to go.
And then they're going to fire Doug and Press, and then either Nielsen or, special teams coordinator, whose name escapes me right now, is going to take over, and it'll just be a lame duck season, and then Balky will get fired, and then they'll just completely reset this thing. But I think they're going to make Doug choose between his job and Press, and Doug's going to choose Press because he always chooses Press, and then Doug's going to get fired. Like, I think that's what it is. He got a Super Bowl ring. He got his money. He doesn't give a fuck. Like, he'll go back and, consult with Andy. Like, he doesn't give a shit. He's not going to fire Press. So at least that's how I read it.
It's ironic that we're talking about an offensively based coach and saying, oh, he's not giving up Press. He'll get fired before he gives up Press.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd just be very surprised if he does, because this has not been the first time that everybody's like, you need to fire Press Taylor, and he said no. So.
And I don't think he's terribly happy there anyways. Like, He doesn't seem like a guy that's like, oh, I'm so sad I'm going to have to leave Jacksonville.
I think he's going to enjoy the consultant life.
Seems like it.
Because he's got a bunch of money. He's got a Super Bowl ring that he won over Bill Belichick. Like, he achieved the life's dream of a coach.
Sure.
So it's like, I don't know. That's how I read it. Speaking of the Chiefs, by the way, Hendog 1000 for $20. Thank you, Hendog. Good evening, gentlemen. Cheers to some football and good beverages. Breaking out the 128 proof Elijah Craig private label. Let's go. I got, for myself tonight, Colkagan, which is a American single malt made by a Scotsman in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And it's a peated, think of Scotch, right? But it's not made in Scotland, so they have to call it American single malt. It's peated, but not with peat, because peat doesn't grow in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So they use mesquite to smoke the grains. So it's one of my favorite American single malts. My loving wife got it for me when she was on a business trip in Santa Fe, looking at like some power tool related thing. I don't know. She's the chainsaw lady. I'll let her explain it to you this weekend. But yeah, it's a great American single malt. He says the private label is amazing. Question for Brett. Has he found any reason behind Flores' mad defense in Minnesota? Ooh. So we're talking about this on the pod tomorrow. I feel like I kind of word saladed it a little bit on the pod. Which I haven't seen the edit of it yet, but I'm assuming the editors had a fun time trying to figure out what the fuck I was even talking about on that pod. Yeah. So I'll give the abridged, ideally simpler version here. If you look at Flores' defense in Miami, a lot of zero was called, but it was a very unique brand to cover zero where, you rush to contact. If the center slides to you, you drop out. You're playing hot zones underneath. All the DBs were, 9 yards off, and they're doing what's called banjo coverage. So, they were just reading the releases. Whoever had the first inside break would take that. Whoever had the first outside break would take that. They weren't just following receivers. They were just reading releases. And, hey, if he comes into your area, you've got him, right? So it was essentially cover zero, but like with zone match principles. And then you also had hot droppers underneath that would just rush to contact to occupy protection and then drop out, right? And so Flores kind of took that and then modified it, as well as getting some ideas from Pat Narduzzi at Pitt when he worked in the same building when he was with the Steelers a couple years ago. And he built this system out of quarters, fire zones concepts, which means it's a fire zone, which is typically a 3 deep, 3 under, but they're just playing quarters. So it's 4 deep, 2 under, or in some cases, they're playing a modified version of cover 2, but with 6 guys instead of 7. So he built his entire defense out of putting an umbrella over the top of the offense, but still running fire zone. So you still got 5 rushers. And it has a lot of the same pass-off principles that from when he called 0, except it's not 0. You're rushing 5 instead of 7. And it's just absolutely diabolical in terms of how simple it is, but also how complicated it looks, which reminds me of like what Mike McDonald and Jesse Minner and all those Ravens guys do. The terminology is different, the structures are different, but it kind of ends up looking the same way, where it's simple for the players to understand because it's just like one coverage over and over and over again, but it looks 12 different ways based on execution. So again, I'm doing a full video on it. I think that explanation was probably better than the one that's in the pod tomorrow, but that's what I've found so far this week. All right, first play from Dallas here. We got a run from Rico Dowdle. Wow, they ran the ball. Let's go. And
decently so. It was definitely shorter, and yes, I think it was more concise.
Yeah, now that I've had a couple run-throughs of how to explain it, I have it better in my head. So, yeah, the film room episode on it's going to be good because I think having visual aids is key.
Yes, for sure.
All right. Dallas running the ball again. Ooh.
All right. I got some fun stuff for you in the Giants defense since they're on the field. Some guys playing really well for the Giants defense this year. Tyler Newman.
Love him.
Man, guy that we loved pre-draft coming out. Only been targeted 3 times in 108 coverage snaps. Second most coverage snaps among all Giants defenders. They've only thrown at him 3 times. That's pretty good. Another guy, Jason Pinnock, who we really loved coming out of college, has been converted and plays real well for the Giants, but he is a sneaky, efficient sack weapon. He has 3 sacks on 7 pass rushes.
So basically, whenever they rush him, they're getting a free runner and said, don't miss. And he's not missing.
42% sack rate.
That's crazy.
And then Bobby Okereke, who we all know is a very great player, but dude's a menace. 41 total run defense snaps so far in 3 weeks. Guess how many run stops he has out of 41 total run snaps? 41 total run snaps. How many stops?
4?
15.
What? What? Nuh-uh.
Uh-huh.
How?
Yeah, buddy. Look at you.
What?
That means a third of his run plays on defense, he's getting a stop.
I don't think anybody else is even close to that. I'd be stunned.
As a rate, no, not even close. Either they have way more run snaps and close to the number of stops, or they have not as many stops.
That's
period. Like
nutty.
That's insanity. Like Bobby Okereke he's just a menace. And a good one.
Giants already forced a punt. So we got DJ. Yeah. Oh no. 21 personnel. What's Dallas going to do against 21 personnel? Oh, how about give up 5 yards? Okay.
Yeah.
That's the kind of the key matchup here is you knew Dable was going to come out in that look and, okay, are they giving us a 4-man surface? Yes or no question. Right. They did on that one.
Guess what's going to happen?
So we'll see how they exploit that tonight because if they can just get 5-6 yards with every single carry, they're just going to take that. Like they're absolutely going to take that.
Again, Singletary, 3rd most missed tackles through 3 weeks, and he's 5th in yards after contact per attempt when he does get hit. He's also tied for 10th in runs over 10 yards. So Devin Singletary overall playing very, very well for the Giants. Been a good pickup for them. Obviously, they took a lot of garbage for letting Saquon go to a division rival. They didn't know he was going to a division rival, but that's what happened. And yeah, the optics aren't great, but Singletary quietly has played very, very well for them at a much lower pay rate for sure. And, I think Zim is going to have to do exactly what he's doing in the first couple drives, which is say, you don't get to. We're going to overcommit to make sure that doesn't happen. Push the ball back into Daniel Jones's hands, because Daniel Jones. We'll talk about him. He
Oh
hasn't been
no,
awesome.
don't play 8 yards off Malik. Please don't do that. Oh, it's really, oh God.
And it's not only did they play 8 yards off, it was a bust.
That's why you don't do that. You don't play
Malik's
Malik
like,
in space. God.
all right. So this is brutal that there's a bust on literally the first pass play to Malik. Oh God.
Oh no, he just broke
he
him
just shook him
down.
out of his shoes.
Yeah.
10 yards of separation on a move like that. Oh, he just got him to bite. But this offense in general, this is no surprise. They are drilling it to Malik Neighbors. He is leading the league in targets. He is on pace for 209 targets this year. So they are force feeding the ball to Malik. So there's no way to watch any Giants tape and not go, guess what they're going to do in the pass game? They are going to force it to Malik Neighbors. On the other side, kind of interesting, Darius Slayton has been quietly efficient. He's got 9.7 yards per target compared to Malik's 10. They just haven't targeted him very much. And the major difference is, Darius only has 4 yak yards all season. Malik has 133. So they're going to keep throwing to Malik's side more. But if they start doubling him, as they should, they could throw Darius Slayton and still be reasonably effective.
I cannot believe Zim, like literally the first drive, he let him do it.
He didn't really think that the corner was going to break his own ankles, so it's tough for me to put that on Zim. Like he didn't draw that up on the whiteboard. So
it's like just
fall down.
It's like saying, okay, yeah, I tied the guy to the post, but like I didn't put the torch in everybody else's hands like they did that. It's like, well, but you did tie him to the post, Mike. Like, and you put the tinder all over. Like, it's kind of your fault. You did call him a witch. Like, what do you want?
Oh man. Well, we should probably wait for a little bit in the broadcast to talk about Danny because it's not flattering.
You talking about Daniel Jones?
Yeah.
Look, the key is run the ball 35 times, throw a couple shots to Malik, and make it so that he doesn't have to have an impact on the game. The best way DJ can have an impact on the game is not having an impact on the game. Like that's the goal.
That is succinct and far more pretty than the stats I was going to bring up.
I'm sure they're very, very flattering.
They're not awesome.
Okay, we're going empty on 2nd and 18. Are they in one hole? They were. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's a. I mean, they didn't punish him for it, but that's a rather aggressive coverage on 2nd and long, empty. You're playing one hole, so essentially just man coverage with a single eye safety with Malik in the slot. Again, you don't want to do that. Storm Hayabusa for $10. Dallas not changing the head coach finally caught up to them, and no receivers besides CD. I think they thought they were going to get one more great year out of Cooks, and I think they've been hoping and wishing for Tolbert to step up. And it just hasn't happened. Like Tolbert's made some nice plays, but he hasn't been a consistent factor for them. So they're in kind of a rough spot here in terms of
here it comes.
Depth of weapons.
All right, I got to give that. Daniel Jones beat the blitz. He knew it was coming. It was pretty obvious. They didn't mask it up at all, but he beat the blitz.
But he did beat it.
I mean, that was the point, like to make him get it out faster than the receiver could make the line to gain. So I mean, Zim won overall, but skirmish to Daniel Jones so far, war to Zim.
Thank you for that once again, Storm Hayabusa. Appreciate your contributions. Also, if Dallas does go tits up this year, they will be changing the head coach because McCarthy's contract runs out. So Don't worry, it's coming.
Don't worry, your coach is going to get fired. Aren't we just beacons of light for all Cowboys fans?
Jonathan Peck for $5. Thank you, Jonathan. Hey, guys, been a long time since I've seen you guys. Welcome back, Jonathan. As a Commanders fan, after watching Monday Night Football, boy, they seem to be coming out of the woodwork now that they have fun.
Everybody's
fun
happy right now.
To quote a song from Tony, it feels good. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I have not
Is
seen
far,
Commanders fans this happy in a very long time.
yeah, far better than the alternative for sure, which is, being a Bears fan.
The last time I saw them this happy, they weren't even named the Commanders.
It's
That's
true.
how long
In
it's
a
been.
bit. It's
JJ for $2. Thank you, JJP. Odunze, Ladd, or Pierce for flex PPR league. Are you talking about Alec Pierce? I assume it's Alec Pierce.
Yeah, I would go Dunze in a heartbeat on that one. Like, I don't even think it's close.
Yeah, I'd probably go
Yeah,
Odunze.
because Ladd's going to struggle because he doesn't have Justin Herbert. And, Pierce, we talked about AR struggles with consistency. I mean, he could have a big day, but he could also have like
Nothing.
7 yards.
Yeah. Odunze is probably the highest floor and the highest ceiling, all things considered.
Yeah, highest floor and probably second highest ceiling. I think Pierce's ceiling is like week 1.
Oh yeah, when he catches 2 balls for $180 or whatever,
a billion yards, right? Yeah, you're fine. I don't know if that's going to happen again necessarily anytime soon, but Odunze established his connection last week with Caleb in game situations. Obviously, in practice, they had a really good connection. They even started practicing together pre-draft before they're both Bears. But we just hadn't seen it come out in games. We'd seen a lot of near misses, and then last week were the hits and his first touchdown. And I think it's going to continue. I don't see a lot of regression happening there. Keenan might be back this week, which might dig into that a little bit, but I don't think so. First week back from injury, he's probably going to be on a bit of a pitch count, especially as a veteran receiver. And look, the bottom line is offensive coordinators, all of them, good, bad, or indifferent, love the hot hand. And if Caleb and Rome are racking up 80 to 100 yards a game, you're not decreasing that guy's chances. Like, you're not saying, well, the veteran receiver's back, so I'm only going to throw to you 3 times a game. They're going to be like, all right, Keenan, earn your touches back because, Rome's getting 8 to 10 targets a game no matter what because he's producing with them. And OCs will ride the hot hand. Absolutely.
Storm Hayabusa for $20 says, speaking of McCarthy, tonight might be the night we finally see McCarthy actually get fired. I'll tell you what.
I think so.
I don't think he's going to get fired tonight, but if things don't go well, again, Jerry, I think will have made the decision tonight, even if it takes a while for it to actually happen. I think tonight is when the decision gets made because he does not want to lose this game. He does not want to fall to 1-3. Losing to the fucking Giants,
in the Meadowlands,
in the Meadowlands, like Jerry doesn't want to lose to Daniel Jones to fall 1-3. Are you kidding me? No. So that would put them dead last in the division.
If only the Giants could light it up tonight. I mean, I just don't think the Giants are a team built to light it up score wise. It's kind of like the Steelers. You don't expect the Steelers to hang a 40 burger on anybody because they just don't score 40 points. The Giants aren't like the Giants can score 20 for sure. The Giants scoring 30 is like some other teams scoring 50. And if the Giants could hang 35 or 40 on the Cowboys tonight, maybe maybe you would get fired. But again, even if they just beat them soundly and all the things Brett was talking about come true, they go to 1-3, they lose to Daniel Jones on the road, division rivals. Like it's not pretty. Obviously, the start to the season hasn't been pretty, but that's going from not pretty to we're starting to press the panic button.
CD just got bounced around by like 4 different guys. Jacobs 893 for $5. Brett, please don't do a video on Flores defenses. I love having optimism, and we really don't need another obstacle this year. Look, okay.
Look, man.
The Coleman curse is an obstacle, but it's not a barrier. You can still make the playoffs. Now, your team will be halfway on IR, but you'll make it. So, it's not all bad. It's not all bad. It's just a little bad. It's okay.
Brett is basically the Marine Corps at this point to fans of teams he makes videos about. Improvise, adapt, overcome.
Just let it happen. It's okay.
That's not the Marine Corps, man.
Well, I don't know. I had a couple buddies in the Marines in the late 2000s. You'd be surprised. Jared Cole for $5. Evening, gents. Brett, have you filled EJ in on my team swap? If not, please do. P.S. Skull. Uh, where did I have? Hold on. Send me a DM, and because I don't have it in front of me right now, but send me a DM, and I will fill in EJ about this.
All right. I have plenty of time on the drive tomorrow. So
I think I have it somewhere on my laptop, but I don't have
There you
it
go.
readily available on that screen, or that screen. So
there you go.
Curtis Rogers.
By the way, did you see Eli's setup when the Athletic did their
like
ride along with
the penta screen? Yeah.
Yeah, the penta screen and full Broadway lighting, and I was like, squad goals, man. Like
Curtis Rogers for $10. Thank you, Curtis. Love all you do, guys. Had an interesting question for you all. How many backup quarterbacks would you start over Deshaun Watson, just from a play point of view? Disregard him as a human being or the pay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still a lot, honestly. So let's go through them one by one.
Yeah, we had this discussion, so we've already prepped. We had this discussion either like last preseason game or just before week 1 of the season. We went through this.
Trubisky, I would play over Deshaun right now. As god awful as that sounds, it's still probably better.
Yeah, I'd say that might be a push, but okay.
But if you're push with Trubisky, Tyrod Taylor,
right.
I would play Tyrod. Drake May, I'd play Drake. Josh Johnson.
Yeah, probably not.
Jake Browning, I'd probably play Browning. Deshaun's own backup, Jameis Winston, I'd play Jameis.
I know a lot of people are asking for that one.
Russell Wilson, I'd play Russ. Davis Mills, I might even play Davis Mills. Is Deshaun the third best Texans quarterback in the league? Who knows? Joe Flacco. Who would make that offense better? Joe Flacco? Sure. Let's see. Who's another backup? Hold on, we've got Dak on the field. I would say the number is at least 10.
Yeah, I mean, considering I'd bet your number is above 10 based on the way you just started rolling.
Would you play Taylor Heineke over Deshaun?
I might, because Taylor Heineke's played well in certain structures. I don't necessarily think he's quote unquote a better quarterback, but Kevin Stefanski is a good coach. And I think of this a little bit like the Panthers situation where everybody was like, hey, Dave Canales calls a really good game. And then the first 2 weeks, everybody was like, oh no, the Panthers suck. Dave Canales must be terrible. And we were like, no, Bryce is just not taking opportunities that are there. His eyes are coming down almost immediately. Like there's no chance for success. Then you bring in Andy Dalton, who I would consider like bottom third league average in terms of at this point in his career. And he looks like God in his first start for the Panthers. I mean, he throws up 300 yards, 3 scores. Like, so I'm kind of wondering if Kevin Stefanski wouldn't get a pretty solid glow up with somebody like Taylor Heineke that could just sort of follow the game plan. And yeah, Taylor's going to throw a couple of bad balls every game, but he's also going to put it up there and let receivers go win a little bit. And we've seen not too much of that from Deshaun. So it's like, is he a better quarterback? No. Is he a better quarterback for Kevin Stefanski in that system right now? He might be.
So Jared's team swapped, which I completely forgot that he did this. Jared's team swap. So he was a Browns fan, speaking of the Browns.
Oh, yes.
And he said, I can't do this anymore. I need to switch teams. And he asked my advice on who to switch to. And I said, stay in the Great Lakes area. So newly minted Vikings fan.
Well, there you go. Skull.
Jared.
No, I appreciate that openness. I think you can fan however you want. Like, I'm not going to tell you how to fan. I'm not going to tell you how to drink your coffee. I'm not going to tell you how to eat your steaks. I'm not going to tell you how to fan. Everybody can fan their own way. Fandom is a very personal thing. But I do think that some fans feel like there is just no way to stop rooting for a team that you've rooted for, ever. Like, you're just locked in with it. And look, if it's not good for your mental health and it just makes you feel like crap all the time, and, you know, the organization goes through an extended period of time, which I think that's fair to say for Browns, you know, where they're making decisions you don't agree with, or you just can't really stomach, there isn't anything binding you to them. Like, they're taking your money either way. And if you say, I'm not going to support that anymore, I still like football, but I don't want to do that to myself anymore. Cool. Again, you can fan the way you want to fan. If I'm not going to tell you to stay loyal to a team forever just because, I'm not going to tell you you can't switch teams. Like, you do it the way you want to do it. So I'm glad that, he reassessed and said, hey, this isn't working for me anymore, and I'm going to make a change. Good for him. I think some people think that's impossible, or like people call it sports bigamy or any other number of things. I just don't think that's the case. Like, you have freedom as a fan to take care of yourself and say, I just can't or don't want to do this anymore. It's not fun, and I'm going to go do something else, or I'm just not going to do it.
First of all, agreed on all counts. Second of all, Dak just got annihilated on that throw. He made the throw, but he got crushed.
Yeah, they do add up. Like, they all add up.
All right. Dallas in no man's land at this point, so probably not. Oh, God.
Oh, wow. That hurt a lot.
Dowdle got folded. Giants are hitting.
That is a very average NFL play. And for all these people that are like, I could gain 5 yards in the NFL. Yeah, you better do it the very first play, because they're going to literally break you in half.
Yeah, can't promise you'll live through it. Like, you can do it, but you might not be
alive.
Might.
Yeah, no, that was again, that play is not going to show up on any highlights ever. And it took a pretty serious toll. That was a rugged hit.
Look at this ball to CD on the slant. Deontay Banks has got to just be so infuriated, because Justin Jefferson did that to him. Now CD's doing it. Yep. Like, he's right there.
Yeah, Deontay Banks if there is ever look at the technique. He is on him. He's got the back shoulder. You can even throw a flag on that if you want to. He is as close as you're going to get, and that is a perfect ball. And there's no defense for a perfect ball. And yes, it has happened to him more than once. And Giants fans are getting on him because he was a high pick. And, guys are having success against him, but he is this close. And again, Giants fans don't want to hear that. I was looking at a bunch of the mentions today, and as I was researching it, I was going to say something about Deontay. I actually left him out of my notes on purpose, because he's having a tough year. Like, his mental fortitude is getting tested, and it will. If you're a corner, you will go through stretches where it's not working out. But like you said, it's not because he is just like, look at the Cowboys corner on the very first play against Malik. Like, that guy just got broke off. Deontay Banks is the opposite of that. He played with great technique. He was aggressive within the rules. He was right there, and he still gave up a completion. People are going to be like, he sucks. And I'm going to be like, that's actually really good, man. Like, if I'm coaching that guy, I don't have any coaching points. Like, just, don't play against Dak and CD on that one particular play. Other than that, you're good. Like, you're as good as you can be right there.
Like, CD and JJ get paid $35 million a year because of that.
Stuff like that.
It doesn't matter if you're in position, they're going to catch it.
Yeah. So Banks has just got to keep doing what he's doing, and it will start breaking his way. I know Giants fans don't want to hear that, and they're very upset about it.
Oh, again. Oh, my God. Dak is on fire.
He's dialed in, and he's got to be.
God.
Like we said at the top of the show, the Cowboys have to pass. The Giants are not going to give them the run game. So they're not even really going to get to the challenge for that. Oh, what a great play design, too. To keep him one step out. He was so close.
That's 2 slants in one drive. I'm talking grazing the corner's fingertip.
Yep. And still on the numbers.
Unreal. All right. Yeah. Dak's on one tonight.
Yeah. Laser-focused accuracy for sure.
And so is Dexter Lawrence.
Well, Dexter Lawrence is always on one. Let's be honest. Dexter Lawrence is coming into this game. Dexter Lawrence was 12th in the league in pressures with 14
as a nose tackle.
That's not for nose tackles. That's for everybody. Edge rushers, safeties, linebackers, nose tackles, you name it. He is 12th overall in the NFL in pressures as a nose tackle.
I think you could very easily argue. Oh, just out of reach. I think you could very easily argue that since Aaron Donald's retirement, it's not Chris Jones that has taken the mantle of best interior defender. It's Dex. Like, out of all of them, considering the position he plays and the value that he brings, that position never brings. Like to me, Dexter Lawrence is what would have happened if Albert Hainsworth gave a shit, and that is terrifying.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. Oh,
Yeah.
Guyton got caught
Well,
hooking up Kayvon.
it is a rip though, so I don't know.
Well, it's a rip, but he hooked the arm once he came through, and then went, "Oh, I'll let you go." After I, basically broke your momentum.
Jalen Carter coming for that. I mean, he's got a while to go. Jalen Carter
Well,
got a while to go.
Jalen Carter, if he plays like he did against the Saints, it won't be long. Like, I don't know if you've gone.
Oh, wait, we got a flag though. I think they called a hold on that.
Oh.
I need this to be a hold for the sake of my Malik Neighbors' first touchdown.
Oh, first touchdown scorer, not for his own team, but totally in the game.
Totally in the game, yeah.
Oh, I like that less now.
Hey, Brett, Albert cared till the first big game check. Yeah, it's
true.
It's funny how that happened right when he got paid.
But for all of you that like any kind of offensive or defensive line play, interaction between the two, I swear to God, like, do what you need to do to get the game film, pay the money, go watch Jalen Carter against the Saints. You won't see a better defensive tackle tape probably in a very long time. He wrecked shop the entire game like 6 different ways. Power, speed, like all the things we talked about him coming out of college. He showed all of them in a pro game and just looked like a man among boys and literally blew the Saints up on the inside. Just completely grenaded them. It's awe-inspiring stuff. If you're into that stuff at all, go watch that game from Jalen Carter. It is rare stuff.
I think a lot of it is probably because they put the tape on at the Falcons game and they said, Jalen, what the fuck is that? Like, we know you're better than this. And then he came out the next week and played better. How about that?
Yeah. And he really wanted to give it to all the LSU fans that were in attendance.
Curtis Rogers for $10. Thank you. Oh, wait. Oh, that was the backup one. I think the number we established was at least half of them, Curtis. How about that?
So somewhere in there, yeah, I would say depends on who you talk to. Brett's probably closer to like 15, 16. I'm probably closer to 10, 12, but a bunch.
So the real question is Deshaun Watson a top 40 starting quarterback in the NFL? And I don't think he is.
No. There's definitely more than 8 for both of us that we would start over him.
Riley Black for $20. Thank you, Riley. Tomorrow marks the most important high school game of the year. Hold on. Them's fighting words. Because Mater Dei Bosco is the most important high school game of the year. But he says Columbia High School in Alabama takes on West Limestone in a last-ditch effort to break an 85-game losing streak.
That's great.
The national record is 86?
Gonna have the all-time record in a way you don't want to have the all-time record.
I stand corrected. That is the most important game. They've not won a game since 2015? Like, not even accidentally? Oh, my God.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
So, like, entire generations of, older brother, younger sister. Like, you've had families with, 5 kids go through this high school and none of them ever saw a win ever. That's amazing. That's truly impressive.
Yep.
Wow. I will be watching with great interest. The Prince of the Stra, the name cut off. I don't know. The Prince of the something.
Prince of the Stra.
For $5. Thank you, Prince. Do you think Tunsil will be continuing to be called heavily on false starts? Will offensive linemen be hampered by this all year? To me, I think what Tunsil is frustrated by is he wasn't doing anything different than he normally does. It's just you never know with the ref crew you're getting if they're going to care. And so I think that's why he's so pissed, is because he's like, I'm literally doing the same thing every single week, and some crews are calling it and some are not. I think if there was consistency in that regard, and, when we were at O-Line Masterminds, they were talking about this too, what makes it difficult is the lack of consistency. So you don't know where you're supposed to be because it seems like it's a week-to-week thing. Until the NFL gets all these different crews to call this consistently, you're going to keep seeing it because some crews let these guys get away with murder. and some of them don't let them get away with anything. And it does make the product more annoying because you really don't know what you're going to see from week to week.
Yeah, and it's really no different than what defensive backs have dealt with forever, which is, all right, we'll take the first quarter, maybe the first half to figure out how they're going to call it tonight. And hopefully they call it the same for both sides, whether it's letting us get away with murder and just, throw guys down on the field, or if we breathe on them, a flag's coming out. And then you have to adjust in the second half. You just have to say, well, this crew's calling it tight. Like, we got to adjust. And I don't think offensive linemen, for the most part, on alignment I think that's a thing. Like, certainly on holding, they deal with the same thing. Some crews call that tighter than others. But for alignment, they're just like, hey, we line up at the same place. Like, why doesn't it get called the same way? So I think they're annoyed that another inconsistency has been added to another element where it just hasn't been before. And that is maddening. Offensive linemen want repeatable reps. They want to be in the same stance. They want it to look the same way. They want the cadence to come out of the quarterback's mouth the same way. They don't want all this upset. And then the ref throws a flag and says, you're 6 inches too far back. And they're like, but this is where I always line up. Like, my outside left foot is 3 inches ahead of my guard's outside right foot. This is how we do it. This is how we've done it since OTAs. Now you're saying I got to be 6 inches farther forward.
It's just
okay.
Annoying. It's completely annoying.
Yeah.
And offensive linemen hate it too because it changes their angle of departure. It changes their land. Like, those 6 inches matter.
Yeah, they will take every little bit they can get because it helps them ease the angle out. So
great move by Wandale there.
Wandale is an interesting player in the Giants offense because he's sort of the in-between guy. Malik is obviously the focus of the passing game. Like I said, Darius Slayton is effective but not getting a lot of yak. Wandale's the move around guy, and like Dable loves him, but he has to do things like he did right there. Like, the offense does not have a ton of design touches for scat back guy. It is all lateral, close to the line of scrimmage stuff, and make people miss. And if he doesn't get that, then his role in the offense is really weird. But Wandale, luckily, is good enough at doing that often enough that he gets fed these, what I would call, very non-productive targets and ended up producing with them.
Does Malik have a grill in? I think I saw him just wearing a grill just now. That's great.
Yeah, I think I saw that in the pregame interview.
All-time username. Helen Keller's dog for $2. Dalton can do the funniest thing ever this week. Yes, he can. He can send the Cincinnati Bengals to 0-4.
Oh, boy.
Which is a sentence none of us thought we were going to be saying this season.
Zero of us thought that.
In fact, if you took that in August, you probably would have gotten like plus 25,000.
Yeah.
But here we are. And I wouldn't be surprised if he did it. I really wouldn't. Because the Bengals are spiraling in so many ways. Can't stop the run. Can't rush the passer. Taking injuries on the offensive line. Like, it's rough.
Took a couple comments on folks running low on patience with Lou Anarumo. And, again, a year and a half ago, that would have been absolute blasphemy from anybody that likes defense. But through the end of last year, they struggled. Actually, through about 2/3 of the end of last year, they struggled. And through the first weeks this year, they played well versus Kansas City, or well enough to win. And they've had a couple of weeks where they didn't play so hot. So now it's kind of becoming more common than it's not. And it's what I would call becoming a fair question. Right. The benefit of the doubt is running out. The NFL doesn't allow you to be bad for a year and a half without people going, hey, did it pass you by? Do you need to adjust? Like, what's going on? It can't all be injuries. It can't all be, unlucky run-ups against teams that are really hot. Like, when you start to get that kind of, it's bad consistency, but it's consistency. People start asking questions, and they're legitimate questions at this point about Anarumo, and it's something to watch for the rest of, I would say, the first half of the season. And if the Bengals can't put up some really strong defensive performances, I think even more questions are going to be asked about that, and rightfully so.
I think the key for Lou to fix it is actually rather simple. Um, the Bengals need to appeal to the NFL to play the Chiefs every single week, and then they'll put up all-time defensive numbers. Because that's pretty much the only quarterback he knows how to play against at this point.
Well, there are certainly personal things we can talk about. Like this is very hard for Bengals fans and me to accept. They let Jesse Bates go and they paid Sam Hubbard. And Jesse Bates can still play, and Sam Hubbard is done. Like, Sam Hubbard looks done on the football field. He's cooked. He is not contributing. So when Bengals fans see that, then they start asking questions about the front office, and, you know, that extends into losability. Like, if you have one pass rusher who's really good in Trey and nothing on the other side, like a literal hole in the water on the other side of the line, it's tough to win in the NFL.
But here's the issue. They don't want to pay Trey either. Like, they have one great pass rusher, and they don't want to pay Trey. So it's like, you let Jesse go. I don't think they're going to keep this linebacking core together long term. You know, DJ Reader, I can sort of kind of understand because, again, he was coming off injury, but like, he was holding the run defense together. Their only great pass rusher, they're just dragging this out and not paying either. You know, once upon a time, again, it's the same GM and the same owner. So even though this was a long time ago, we're talking about a decade and a half ago, it's still the same pattern. Yep. Jonathan Joseph was an elite corner, and they had him on his rookie deal, and they didn't want to extend him. So he went to Houston, and, you know, by the time Jonathan Joseph retired, he was one of the top 5 corners ever in terms of pass breakups. He had a tremendous career. People forget he was a Bengal. He was an elite corner, and they're like, yeah, we don't need that. So, oh my.
No, it's free play.
Okay. I just looked over and I saw Diggs getting a pick.
I know. I was like, don't. It's a free play. He knew it. No, they got him to jump. And so he was like, what the hell, I'll take a shot. But unfortunately, that's what the shot looked like. I mean, you'd like it to at least be competitive. He knew it was a free play, but still, like, take your free play. Lots of quarterbacks throughout the NFL have made a living on free plays. Aaron Rodgers, notably. You're not going to make any kind of living if that's what you're doing on a free play. Was he hit
when he threw that? Because it was just nowhere near.
No.
Oh, no, he was clean. He just fucking totally clean. Sucks. Okay, cool.
Underthrew it. Yeah, it was terrible. All right, now's the time. You goaded me into it. All right, Giants on offense.
Oh, man.
Offensive line has given up the 6th most pressures in the league at 44 prior to this game. Mm-hmm. We'll let the Giants run this play, and then I will tell you the woe of Danny Dimes this season, which is kind of the same woe that he's always had, but nice play to Wandale. And again, Wandale has to break a tackle, make a play, and get the first down.
But he does.
And he does. That's what he does. So he's fired up about it, and rightfully so. Danny's given up. Danny has the 6th lowest passing yards per attempt at 5.8 and the 6th lowest completion percentage at 59.6. Here's the damning one. This is really bad. So CPOE, completion percentage over expected, is the 4th worst in the league. The 3 players that are lower than him right now, Richardson, who we talked about at the top of the broadcast, Bryce Young. Oh, of course, he makes a huge shot to Slayton. Oh, okay. So the 3 guys that are worse in completion percentage over expected: Richardson, Bryce Young, and Trevor.
It's not good company to be in.
Not this season, it's not. So, but this is a great throw. I'll give him his credit. That is a dime. That is between the 8 and the 6. It was released with anticipation. That's a good throw.
Chat was commenting that my mic was a little bit quiet. Is my mic good now, chat? Are we good? Are we fine? I always forget that every single time we do one of these, I have to do some slight little tweaks and adjustments. Some leveling.
Yes. Well, welcome to OBS. Oh, he got it!
Oh! I think he got 2 in. No, they're saying he didn't.
Oh, that's Tyrone Tracy, former receiver. Oh, we got a flag? What's the flag? Where's the flag? I got to say that this head coaching battle looks like two guys arguing over the fence about their lawns in suburban New Jersey.
Oh, they call it a legal shift. Brutal.
Oh, good throw.
Well, they called him out anyway, but still.
No, it's a good throw. I mean, it's better. It's better than the throw he just had on the free play. Let's put it that way. Oh man, he's still getting the play. Oh man. Yep, he didn't get it.
Brett and EJ, can we talk about how Kyle Phillips was supposed to be what Wan'Dale Robinson is?
Yeah, we can. Kyle's not been able to stay healthy, and it's such a shame because that guy can shake anybody. And I'm talking about at the NFL level. Like, he can get open against anybody, but he has not been able to stay healthy, and it's a shame. He's a good player. He has a great approach to the game. He's really sharp as a football player, but his body just hasn't held up at the NFL level, and it's every year I've been disappointed and upset and just sorry for him. He's a good dude, and I don't know if it's ever going to happen for him. It's tough to overcome that level of injury.
Micah just got chipped into Narnia.
He did, and Danny rolled out on the boot, which is a strength of his. He has good mobility to the outside. Throw on the run was on the money. He's, maybe he heard all the nasty things I said about him, and he's like, I'll prove you wrong.
Space Ranger says, anybody know where to stream this for free? It is on Twitch, so you don't need Amazon Prime Video. Like, it's on Twitch's Prime Video.
They're pulling him out. They're pulling him out
because of the
because he got
chip?
blasted. No, because he got blasted and he came up holding his head. So he's going to get the concussion check for sure.
Well, watch this hit from Bray. I mean, he didn't get him in the head.
No.
Unless they're talking about on the tackle, maybe?
Maybe. Didn't look bad either, but ref literally said came up checking your head. So maybe
got him in the shoulder.
Independent advisor saw something. No, it wasn't that he hit somebody in the head. They're worried about his head.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is like he got hit in the shoulder on the chip. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, he got racked. Somebody was telling me, or somebody was trying to tell me, this is the not funny part of this, that in order to have a concussion, you need to get hit in the head. And I was like, oh no, that's not true at all. I once had a concussion when I did not hit my head at all. I took a really hard fall. But at the time, I was used to riding mountain bikes and had really strong neck and was, wearing a full face helmet, and there were no marks on my helmet. My helmet did not hit the dirt. I landed on my chest and my forearms. It was a really hard fall. It was up at Whistler, but my head didn't hit the ground, and I was fine for the rest of the day. And on the drive home, my wife said, do you want to pull over and get some food? And I was like, no, I'm not hungry. And like 5 minutes later, I was like, I'm really hungry. And as I said it, I heard it in my ear, and she looked at me, and I was like, I know, like, yeah, like I got my bell rung, like, and it was a very mild one, but it was because my head came to a stop, even though it didn't hit the ground.
Well, that's what gets you. It's the deceleration. It's not necessarily impact. It's just about here's your brain.
That's right.
In a fishbowl, let's just shake it around,
Exactly. And I was trying to tell somebody, you do not have to hit your head to get a concussion. I'm fully aware of that because I got one that was not terrible, and I, did all the stuff I needed to do for the next few days to make sure that my baseline was good and everything else. But it was so weird.
Kane in chat apparently is not aware of EJ's lore. He says EJ used to rip Whistler, buddy. EJ used to rip everywhere.
Oh yeah,
he's a rafting guide. He wrote for Bike Magazine. EJ's outdoor adventures were long and numerous. So that raft trip you did, that you were the guide for, how many days was it? It's like 14.
Oh no, when I kayaked the Grand Canyon. It was 17.
17. Oh, is that all? EJ's
tough.
dad lore is like legendary. Like this
long
man
it
lived
takes,
a whole life, like way before.
We could have a whole separate podcast. People have suggested a whole separate podcast about all the random adventures and injuries, but that would definitely be a whole different show.
Yeah, that's why we always talk about EJ's injuries, because how do you think
Because he has a bunch.
How do you think he accumulated all those?
He has a bunch. Oh, good God.
EJ waged a long war of attrition against most bones in his body.
100%.
You have no idea how true that is.
That is on point. 100%. So I started racking up a medical file when they still were insistent on paper files. It wasn't all digital at that point. And I don't know how you measure the thickness of a digital file, but back in the day, I'd seen my actual paper file with all the copies of all the various stuff in it, and it was not pretty. Nurses did not like carrying it around. That's for sure.
Kart Racer 56 for $5. Who would do better in Dable's offense, Christian Hackenberg or Daniel Jones? I guess Daniel Jones. Like
we've seen Daniel Jones have success in this offense, right? It's the fact that there have been injuries and it's taken a long time, and the progress has been largely fairly slow. At this point, you would want to see the sort of big jump acceleration, like, hey, this is the match, this is the place for him and the coach and the system, and he's got experience, and he's seen all these defenses now, and it's just been this very slow kind of drip, and that's hard for people to stomach for a guy you're paying $40 million plus a year. So
Dane B for $5. Thank you, Dane. Says, I secured the PS5 30th anniversary edition, boys. The slim version, but I'm still proud of myself.
Ooh.
First of all, I'm proud of you, too. Second of all, do yourself a favor and buy Space Marine 2. It's awesome.
Oh.
As far as like games that you will absolutely enjoy on your TV on a PS5, it's amazing. Even if you're not a 40K fan, you'll love it.
I have a video to show you when I get to your house.
Okay.
And it's Warhammer related, as I know you are a Warhammer super fan.
You can call me a nerd. It's fine. I understand.
I think super fan is fine. I'm going to keep it positive. I can appreciate a lot about Warhammer.
All right. Cowboys are empty here on 3rd and 5.
Another good. Oh man, it did it rain before the game? It sure didn't seem like it did, but a lot of folks are having trouble with the handle tonight.
So Dak, this was an interesting cat and mouse, because Dak had the tight end hot in the flat, and Newbin was the man responsible for covering Ferguson hot, and he got there in a hurry. Dak read it. Dak made the throw. Dak got the ball there. But the fact that Newbin came down and turned that into a 4th and 1 rather than a first down, that's why they took him, folks. Like, it's range, it's closing speed. Like, he got there quick.
Size. Oh, man.
We got Hunter Lepke carries on 4th and 1. Not Zeke.
Hey, Hunter
Lepke.
Hunter Lepke had carries. Lepke had carries last week.
How about it?
This is so close. I mean, this is the NFL in a nutshell. He almost, like, if he doesn't get that hand down, it's going to be a very close measurement. He manages to keep his balance, tripod a little bit, and, get a couple extra yards. Great ball.
And he let him go. Oh, that's brutal.
Oh, man. Deontay Banks is going to break.
Deontay's in hell, man. Deontay's in absolute hell.
He is getting targeted at a really high rate, and he didn't have a ton of ball production. For those of you scouting DBs in college, he was aggressive. His technique is really good. His physical measurements are great in terms of speed, quickness, like size. He did not have a lot of ball production, and he did not get his head around to the ball. And everybody said those are the two things he's going to have to improve. And he is finding out in a sea full of athletes very much like him, where he is not physically dominant, those two things are crushing him right now. And you can only lose this way so many times. And CD's one of the best in the game. We said it earlier. He's close. He's not close enough. CD made the play, and he didn't catch him, and he didn't tackle. Like, Giants fans are currently torching the comments section of Giants Reddit right now about Deontay Banks. Like, guaranteed.
Well, the thing that bothers me is he started jogging before, like, CD was 15 yards out from the end zone. Why are you fucking jogging?
That's why I said he's going to break. And what I mean is he is breaking before our eyes, because like they continue to target him. He continues to miss by a little bit. And at some point you kind of just throw your hands up. And that is the NFL version of throwing your hands up is I missed. He's going to run away from me. I give up. And NFL fans do not love their players giving up.
But even if he's going to get there, like, don't jog. Don't jog.
I get it, believe me, but I am sitting here in my chair. Deontay Banks is out there on the field in front of a national audience, and we are seeing a young player go through it right now. And he is, make no mistake, he is a good player. He could be a very solid NFL player. Right now, he is very close to being that, and the line in the NFL is extremely thin. Very close to good enough is not good enough, and he's finding that out. And it is an incredibly humbling lesson when you have been the best athlete you know for your entire life.
Yeah.
To get to the league and be like, I'm doing things right and I'm really close and I'm still getting thrashed and everybody hates me and I have the worst completion percentage against on my team, even though I might physically be the best corner on my team. It just doesn't all add up. And mentally, you've got to handle that as an NFL player. It happens for everybody. It happens for young quarterbacks when they don't have great games and people start heaping on them. It happens for young offensive linemen when they give up a bunch of sacks or they give up a high-profile sack to lose the game, or their first rep in the NFL, they get turnstiled. Like, it is a tough thing mentally to push through that. And we'll see what Deontay Banks has in the tank there, because it's been a few weeks now. New York is notoriously a pressure cooker, especially on young players who are highly drafted. He's both. And it is difficult. Like, it is just not easy, folks.
I'm watching back the replay right now. And when Deontay started jogging, he was at the 24-yard line and CD was at the 23.
Yeah, he's right behind him.
Quarter of the field out, or you're a yard back. You ran 4.3, and you start
you're
jogging,
fast,
and you start jogging. Like, that's almost like bench worthy dogging it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care how sticky he is in coverage, because he's always there, but he consistently gets beat at the catch point, and then you jog. Can't have that.
He's going to hear about it. There's no question. And he needs to. Like, this is the evolution of a young player. There are ups and downs. We say this all the time. Progression is not linear. It's not like they start at one place and they just only get better on some curve. Like, they get better, they get worse, they get hurt, they are in good situations, they're in bad situations, they have a crisis of confidence, or they're hiding an injury. Famously, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We loved him as a player. We thought he was a great fit. We thought he was a pretty good pick, where Kansas City picked him that year at the end of the first round. And he never really reached the heights. And this offseason, it came out that he was involved in a traumatic incident in college and has both PTSD-like symptoms and something, and I'm going to get it wrong, don't roast me here, but it's like automatic vomiting or involuntary vomiting, where like the anxiety comes up and he just throws up.
I hadn't read any of this.
Oh, yeah. So it's why he's currently I think he's on the PUP, not
really?
IR.
Or NFI, or maybe.
Yeah, it might be NFI. It's either NFI or PUP, but this is the reason why. And like, he's been dealing with it since college. So the entire time, everybody's been, again, heaping on him and saying, oh, first round pick and he's a bust and why isn't he better and whatever. He's like been, waking up at night and throwing up involuntarily and like going through it. And that is, that's an extreme example, but like it didn't stop people from around the league saying, oh, he sucks and he can't play football. Like, think about that on top of everything else that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying that's Deonte Banks' problem, but like there is a whole level of person and player behind all these guys and all these stories of development or lack thereof that we don't know about. And we're going to see what Deonte Banks is made of mentally, because he is going to have to buckle down and work even harder than he is probably already working. And like the calls are not going to get quieter for his benching or the fact that he's terrible or whatever else. Like he's going to have to just keep going. And it is a very, very hard thing to do. Ooh, that is a not fun landing.
And it also looked like a fumble to me.
Wow. I mean, Singletary landed on that guy's head. Speaking of just random plays that don't necessarily look terrible, and then you watch it back in slow motion and you're like, ooh, that's not great.
Storm Hayabusa says, Miss Super Chat, the whole Denver QB room might be better than Watson and Jones. So we know Bo Nix is the starter for Denver. I would buy that. Sure.
Okay.
Even with as little
More
evidence
potential,
as we have,
but
like,
sure.
I'd buy that. Here's where it gets tricky.
Murky.
The backups in Denver are Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson. Deshaun Watson here. Zach Wilson here. Who you got?
Stidham I can argue for. Zach Wilson, again, we could say a lot of the same things we just said about Deonte Banks about Zach Wilson. Goes to the largest media market in the country, tons of pressure, high pick, very, very talented, like no doubt, physically very, very talented, does not live up to expectations, comes up short in big moments, starts to have, tons of booze and negative stuff heaped on him, and doesn't, we know how that story ended in New York. We don't know how it ends for his NFL career because, again, he can start rewriting it tomorrow. But as it stands right now, like Zach versus Deshaun, I'm not voting for Zach. Like
I vote for walking out in the middle of the freeway because I just couldn't take either one.
I'm certainly not pro Watson for anybody that listens to our podcast. But is Zach Wilson better than Deshaun Watson? Deshaun played like at least averagely last week. It wasn't great, but we've seen some far less than great performances. In fact, most of them from Zach Wilson have been far less than great. Yeah, look at Singletary land chest first around that guy's helmet.
That looks really painful.
Yeah, you know who that is. It's Overshown.
Yeah, he's been making plays tonight, and they put him in some tough spots too. Like he had to be the hook wall player on Malik against a return route earlier, and like make the tackle one-on-one in space. That's not easy to do, but he did it. We talked before the game that we were hoping Overshown was going to get more snaps, and I really want him to.
All right, shot down the field, short. Why is that not picked off?
There was no gas on that ball. Like
there's no gas on that ball, and it's double coverage. Like I know you want to get Malik his touches, but that is a terrible choice to let
that thing just hung up there forever.
Yeah.
No gas. God.
He breaks that. Safety's over the top of him. That's like Hooker, right?
Yeah.
No,
he underthrew it by 15 yards.
Right, but when he lets it go, Hooker's over the top of him.
It's not. Well,
there's no reason to throw that ball.
I would say Hooker was like maybe 2 to 3 yards over the top, but there was so much grass. If he led him more towards the sideline and put 15 more yards on it, he could have got there. Yep. He doesn't have the arm.
He had a big arm, so maybe he's hurt, but like Daniel Jones could rip it. Like I'm not saying like top 10 arm in the league, but he had plenty of arm to get that out there earlier in his career. And has his throwing motion gotten like a lot longer?
He was working with 3D QB this past offseason to retool his mechanics, coming off the knee injury. At least I think it was 3D QB. Hello.
Yeah. Are we counting that? Tracy was like, I think he flipped me right back onto my feet. I'm ready to go.
Or was it QB country? It was either 3D QB or QB. It was one of the QB groups, right?
I'm just saying on that last out to Malik, his stride was really long. Like his feet were really far apart, and you saw that loop that you don't necessarily like. I mean, again, who knows what his QB coaches are telling him to do, but like nose down, turn it over, and
Yeah,
the old
baseball.
the old Byron Leftwich loop. See, that's much tighter from the pocket. Feet are together. Ball came up quickly. Release was pretty good. Gets there on time. Like I
So,
realize it's a completely different type of throw, but like that
well,
looked much more machined.
and that's what when you say different type of throw, that can actually happen on that one you're referring to. DJ was throwing to his left.
Yeah.
Sometimes quarterbacks can get into trouble and start overstriding when they throw left because again, it's you're kind of overstriding to try to get like a good strike into the ground to build that recoil, which then comes up through the core. And so when you're kind of opening to your left and throwing, if you open up too much and overstride, like really trying to emphasize that recoil action with that front leg, yeah, it can sometimes lead to that. So the key is to be able to like really get that hard front foot strike without throwing your leg too far out there, because then you can just get wonky and have accuracy issues. So particularly for right-handed quarterbacks throwing left, that is a thing that can happen.
Another shot to Wandale. They wanted him to do his magic. He did not do his magic. That's a good spot of the ball. He was coming back towards the quarterback, caught the ball, made the catch. They have, third and short. Oh, no.
Oh, he still got
Singletary.
it.
Singletary bails him out. That is all Devin Singletary. He, again, yards before contact, -3.
Lego Lunatic. Yes. Sorry, Mr. Super Chat. He was asking where we get our play call percentages and our coverage percentages. It is from a particular version of PFF that I have access to, and unfortunately, it is not publicly available. So you can get a lot of great data insights from the publicly available PFF. That is one of those things that is not in it, unfortunately.
Yeah, in terms of the deep splits, it's not. But for instance, I got the outside run percentage against the Cowboys defense from the new NFL Plus Premium, which is $100. So there are some things available both from the PFF public site, which I also have, and then the new NFL Plus Premium. So you can weld together a pretty good picture from the two of those. But there are certain things about like, I had a question about a particular team's effectiveness on second downs, like what their run pass split was on second down and what their success rate was on second down. And like, I can't get that from anything that I have. So I had to ask some people.
Also, I want to emphasize like PFF is a very, it's a great company overall. And I think a lot of the criticism of PFF comes from the grades, but like the grades are not the business model. The team services and all like the really, really deep numbers that they collect and chart, like that is the business model. So, and even PFF would tell you that, like, that is what pays their bills, because that shit is really, really, really expensive. And the only people that have access to it are the 32 NFL teams and the league itself. But that's what keeps the lights on.
Speaking of keeping the lights on, Devin Singletary's doing it for the Giants offense right now by himself.
As he is wont to do.
Yes, he is wont to do. Oh, okay. I got to say, so they flashed the Giants run stats about half a quarter ago, and the top yards per carry was like 3.6 for one back, and it's much lower for everybody else. It's probably gone up a little bit for Singletary based on the last few carries, but basically Zim came out with the answer for the run shift defense. Like he did what I asked him to, which was to make a functional shift to say, no, you will not run at will early in the game. Now, if he can keep it up, that's great. But the Giants haven't really made him pay for it. They've only come up with 6 points so far.
Oh, they were setting up a nice little screen there that was probably going to get blown up because Diggs was already in the backfield. Who called a timeout?
Oh, flag. Defense.
Oh, it was a flag on defense anyway. All right. Random question, but does no one in the NFL practice tap tackles? That was a big deal when I played rugby. I'm not familiar with tap tackles. I would love to Google that after the stream. Because rugby tackling techniques. I'm struggling today. But rugby tackling techniques, I think, are going to be. I mean, they've already been a big emphasis for a lot of pro and college teams. But as the strike zone shrinks and shrinks and shrinks due to player safety reasons, like rugby tackling is going to be mandatory for everybody to be learning. Even, starting at the youth football level. There's, Andrew Ryland is probably the most prolific as far as guys that are over here in the States that run like tackling clinics and consultations with teams. And he's really, really good at it. So I'd follow him on Twitter. But there's a bunch of them that kind of travel from camp to camp to camp teaching these guys how to hit people without bouncing off.
Oh, the quarterback run game.
Gotta love exposing your quarterback to getting nailed like that. Because
got anything else. I don't want to say, it's because you don't have anything else. I don't want to say that it's must score because it's not. We're not at that level. We're not that far apart in points. But look, we're getting down. There's 3 minutes left in the first half. You're basically kind of in your 3/4 minute offense. You need the first down for sure, and it would be very nice. I'm not going to say it's must, but it would be very nice for the Giants to pick up a touchdown here because if they don't, yeah.
Oh, got it. He dropped it.
No,
oh my God.
No, sure didn't.
Or do they call that a fumble?
Sure didn't. I don't know. They're gonna probably not blow the whistle because they got dinged 2 years ago for blowing the whistle so often on plays that actually were. That the default is don't blow it dead, and then we'll fix it in replay. Kind of like you and me, we'll fix it in post.
I do want to emphasize when they show this replay, watch Theo Johnson, the rookie tight end, number 84. Watch the difference in his effort trying to run down this return versus the effort of Deonte Banks not running down CeeDee Lamb. This is amazing effort. He straight up saved a touchdown if this ends up being ruled a fumble.
Incomplete.
Okay, they did rule it incomplete. I really hope they show a replay, though, because Theo Johnson was hawking this down as a 6'5", 260-pound tight end.
All right.
I don't think they're going to show it. Unfortunate.
Yeah? Well, they're going to show the drop.
Yeah.
Ooh, yup.
Yeah,
sorry, you made possession. A football move. Yeah.
I'll find the all 22 of that tomorrow, and or it'll be up probably by the morning. Yeah. I'll find the all 22 of that and watch him hawk this down.
Yeah. Well, it's 84, right?
84.
Yeah. He's on that side, and he realizes he's one of the only guys that has a shot.
That was great. All right. 1st and 15. Giants really, really need this.
That's the thing is, so you're driving down. I don't want to say you sacrifice your quarterback. You expose your quarterback, like you said, to some punishment, and he picks up the first down. You get what could be a really nice gain. Almost turns out to be a fumble, and you get the penalty instead. Now 1st and 15. Now, like basically right out, you bring out probably one play to the 2-minute warning. You were at 3 minutes, like 8 yards ago. These are the differences between good teams and teams that don't necessarily get it done. And a run play up the middle, and Cowboys have been much better tonight than they have versus the run, especially the inside run, they look like a team that can actually get it done against a team that's been running the ball fairly well.
It's amazing what happens when you play DeMarvey and Overshown. Who knew?
We did. Oh, sorry. That was a rhetorical question, right?
So we had a super chat from Stephen Bonsignore. Pronounce that correctly, hopefully. For $10. Y'all are being way too hard on Deshaun. The O-line is in shambles with injuries, and Stefanski is my least favorite coach in the league. He forced an injured Baker to throw 50-plus times to prove a point, which I agree. He should not have done that. Like, because Baker was playing because Baker wanted to play. You know, he wanted to do right by his guys, and it's on the coaching staff to protect the quarterback from himself sometimes. I will say this, though. If you're looking at just offensive line pressure rates allowed, the Browns are not the worst offensive line in the league. They're number 4th, or they're number 4. The Rams are actually way worse than them in terms of pressure rates allowed. And I know Matthew Stafford, the gap between Stafford and Deshaun is a Grand Canyon, but it is possible to have an effective offense when you're down your top 2 receivers and you're on 3rd string tackles. Like, it's not like it's impossible to be a functional pro. The Rams managed to do it. They beat the Niners. But if I take out play action and if I take out RPOs and we're just doing straight drop back passes, right? So let's take that out. Again, using our super secret special tools here. So straight drop back passes. The worst pressure rates allowed are the Patriots are at 55.4%.
Everybody's like, play Drake May.
Holy shit. So the Patriots are number 1.
Should just be like, sacrifice Drake May.
Patriots are number 1. Rams are number 2. Again, I know there's a gap between Deshaun and Stafford, but like offensive line, like you can still have an effective offense. The Titans are 3rd worst. The Falcons are 4th worst. Like again, you can do it. The Jaguars are 5th worst. I'm not going to make any excuses for them. Guess who the 2 teams that are worse in terms of pressure rate allowed on straight drop back passes than the Browns? That nobody's making excuses for their quarterbacks, even with injured skill position players for both teams. The Vikings and the 49ers. We're not talking about aided by play action or RPO or screen passes. So the Browns are not the worst offensive line in the league in terms of drop back pass protection, even with their injuries. They're 8th. And you have some really successful quarterbacks, at least 3 of them, arguably 4 of them, that have worse pressure rates allowed. Deshaun just sucks. Like, he just sucks. There's no other way to put it. So,
and even when he's getting protection, I mean, if your issue is offensive line, we just talked about that. Even on the plays where he's protected, where he has a clean pocket, if you go through those plays, look at those plays. It's not pretty for the most part. The first several weeks of tape were no bueno.
He's not seeing the field. He's inaccurate. Like, he's not the worst quarterback in the league, but he's the worst starting quarterback in the league. But also, I agree, Stefanski did kind of set Baker up for failure. So I agree with you.
Well, yeah, I'm not taking any issue with that. That was, Baker's shoulder was kind of hanging off when he asked him to throw 50 times. It's not great, but trying to say it's not Deshaun's fault because Stefanski made Baker do bad stuff is like, no. Like, Deshaun's doing plenty of bad stuff on the field in his own right, even when he has protection.
I guarantee you, if you start Jameis, that offense gets better. Guarantee you. There's no possible way it could be worse.
Yeah, you're going to have to live with the turnovers, but I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, but you live with the turnovers with Joe, too.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, especially after the first month. There was that first, 3 starts. Joe, we're like, woohoo! And then the turnovers started to pile up.
Dane B for $10. Brett and EJ, I'm an Eagles fan. Please tell me the scary demon that goes by the name Jaden Daniels is not real and he can't hurt me unless he gets Sirianni fired.
I don't know what I can tell you. He is scary and he is real. So, yeah, it's no fun when potential quarterback super weapons drop in your division. It just ain't great. Voice of experience.
Just imagine what happens when he gets a left tackle. Like, honestly, the Eagles should have known something was up when the Commanders were like, hey, you want Jahan Dotson? And the Eagles were like, why?
I guess.
What's wrong with
I
them?
guess.
Like, they should have known.
Yeah. All right. So now we're down to 116. We've moved about 12 yards.
Got Tyron Tracy split out wide. He's a fun little multi-dimensional. Oh, Daniel! Another flag. Are they calling hands to the face on my? Oh no, it's a hold.
Holding.
Okay,
it's a hold.
All
right, Brett. Jack Hunter for £5. Morning, both. Any idea what's up with Jalen Warren? Drafted him high in every league, going, and it is not paying off.
Well, he is still banged up, right? Like he started the year banged up. I kind of feel like they're in conservation mode with him. How many carries a game is he getting? I don't think it's a lot. I barely ever see him.
It's not. You've not seen his name. I mean, Jack, I realize you're probably quite upset with the usage, but I'm with Brett. They're probably easing him back in, saying, hey, you're going to be much more valuable to us in, late November, December, and maybe hopefully early January than you will be to us in early September or even early October. So we're going to ease you back in. Najee's healthy enough to carry the load. We're going to do that. We'll give you a few, but we're not going to overwork you, and we're going to hopefully let you get back to what I would consider full health or full readiness or full football shape or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I know he hasn't practiced this week. At least as of today, he didn't practice today. So like I know he's still dealing with it, but he got that injury. I think it was like early August, off the top of my head, and he's been dealing with shit ever since. So.
Yeah, you and I were just having a conversation yesterday about a player that got dinged up in the June-July timeframe, and the team, he never got better. The team just didn't disclose it because he was playing when the season started, and just this week they disclosed and said, oh, he's dealing with this injury. And folks that have been working with him were like, he didn't just get this injury. Like, he's had it the whole time. It's just flaring up and bad enough now that
they have to report it or get fined. Yeah.
Yeah. So it never went away. And there's a lot of that goes on around the league. That is not a shot at a team or doctors or player or anything. Like, everybody in this league is banged up at some level. You can't play this game regularly and not be banged up. It's just a question of how much and what the threshold is for the player to deal with it. So.
Hudson Smith for $5. Was the Jets win just because it was the Patriots, or are we actually quote unquote okay for the first time in my life? I just want to know how much hope to have. I gotta say, the way Rodgers played in that game 1 week ago tonight, that did not look like it's just beating up on the Patriots. That looked like Rodgers spinning it like he used to. He still can't run like he used to, but as far as throwing the ball, that just looked like Aaron. It looked the same. So if you're getting that, even if it's a less mobile version, if he's just a stationary scud launcher, like you got a shot, So that did not look like a one-time thing to me. I still don't think they win the division. I think the Bills are going to run away with it, but I am amending my expectations for them from like 8-9. Let's bump that up by a couple games to like 10-7 and being a strong, solid wild card team. How about that?
Yeah, if he stays healthy, they're a completely different team, which is exactly what they were banking on, which is what we were all waiting for. We got 4 plays of last year, never basically got to see it. And then it was a question of, hey, is he going to be able to come back at his age from a very serious injury and look the same? And a week ago, Tonight, we got to see him look very much the same, save his ability to take off and, kind of scamper for about 15 yards and slide. He's not going to do a ton of that anymore. He's going to scamper like 6 or 7 if they need him to. But that same stupid little flick that can put the ball anywhere on the field, whenever, wherever he wants it, is incredibly familiar to me. And yes, it looked completely capable of taking apart most modern defenses. So if he stays upright, stays healthy, the offensive line stays mostly healthy in front of him, and he doesn't lose like every skill position player. Because look, folks, if there's one thing Aaron Rodgers does better than probably anybody in the NFL ever, it's make kind of also ran players look like stars. I mean, Alan Lazard is not a great receiver, and I know lots of Patriots, a lot of Packers fans, some Jets fans will be all up in my head. They'll be like, hey, Alan Lazard's great. Alan Lazard is great when he's around Aaron Rodgers, and when he's not, he's not. And there are a lot of players like that. It's not just Alan Lazard. Like, you go back through those Packers rosters, and they left, they had big glow-up seasons playing with Aaron Rodgers, thought they were amazing, moved on, and almost all of them fell directly on their face. Devontae being the obvious exception.
Speaking of Devontae, so we had another super chat from Steven for $10. Thank you once again, Steven. He said, how do you feel about the Antonio Pierce comments, who, as a refresher for those who didn't see it, he said players are making business decisions, basically criticizing effort, et cetera, like that. Ooh. Kayvon got one? Yeah, Kayvon got one.
Yeah.
He says, in my opinion, if you're going to be a player coach, you can't blame player effort, because isn't that your whole job? And doing it in public is even worse coaching malpractice, in my opinion. I think it depends, right? It depends on if you have the support of the captains or the leadership council, whatever you want to call it. Devontae was asked about it today, and he said he agreed with Antonio's comments. So I think, if it's some players that are in non-leadership positions that need to be whipped into shape, I think sometimes it's okay to have the coach call it out and basically say, like, hey, we're watching and we're seeing when you guys are loafing it. Like, we're sure Deonte Banks is going to get ripped apart by this, in their meetings this week, right? But if you also have the captains on board with that, and they take accountability as player leaders to get better effort out of guys in their position groups, I'm going to default to AP in terms of knowing their room better than me. I think sometimes it can come off as deflecting and maybe trying to pass off blame if a coach is like on the hot seat or something like that. I don't think AP is on the hot seat. I don't think it was deflecting blame. I think it was basically a signal to his captains of like, hey, get your guys in shape. And as a former player himself, I think AP understands that dynamic too. So it's very possible you're correct, but I would default to AP's just trying to get his guys to not fuck around,
My bottom line on that one is you're still the head coach of the football team. Players coach or not, it's your job to win. And if you've got guys on your team that are not contributing to that, you have to be able to say that. You can't simply go, oh, well, now I have to ask the players to ask the other players to like up their effort because I'm a players coach. Like, you're still the coach. You're still the head coach. You're still the face of the franchise. It's still your job. And quite frankly, it's still your ass if you lose. So you got to be able to say, you over there not contributing in the way that you need to, up your game, get it squared away, or you're going to find the bench, or you're going to find your way out of here. You still need to do that because this is a performance-based league. It's not a feel-good league or a vibes league or anything else. You got to win games. If there's guys out there, like, there are other ways to do it first, but if you've tried those, privately, I would say, or in practice, which is, privately within the team, and it's not happened, like, it's within your purview to say, we got some guys that aren't pulling their weight, and we need them to fix that if we're going to fix where we are in the standings. And again, I wouldn't do that first. It's not the first lever I would pull, but you got to have the purview to be able to do that because you're the one getting fired if the team doesn't perform. So
John Salter for $5 said this, and it blows my mind. Apparently, that Thibodeau sack was the Giants' first sack against the Cowboys since December of 2021. So it went 2 full seasons without getting a single sack. That's nuts.
That's not great for a team you play in your division twice a year. Oh, good move.
I think it was Burns on the outside.
It was Burns, yeah. It's a real nice little spin move. Cause some pressure. He'll get a pressure for that for sure.
Is that a Cordell Flott PBU on screen right now?
Cordell Flott, interestingly enough, when I was looking at the stats for the defensive backs coming into this, and obviously, we've talked about several of them already. Cordell Flott, who is a player, as you know, I was not super high on coming out. I thought he's a fine guy and could make a roster. He's playing pretty solidly overall, so I'll just have to think that he developed more or has found a spot that he really likes. Both can be true.
Eli Harrell for $2. Thank you, Eli. Is Chris Greer on the hot seat? So there is based on my understanding of the situation, there is a lot of nuance to this. A lot of it depends on if Tua comes back. If Tua does not come back, Ross, the owner, who has always been hesitant about Tua, it is my opinion that he will interpret Tua walking away after Ross explicitly spent years trying not to pay him and then relenting and paying him because Greer wanted to pay him. I don't think Ross will look at that favorably. And I think Ross will be very angry about that because he was reticent to pay Tua because of this issue. So, is Greer on the hot seat? We'll know in 3 months based on what's happening with their quarterback. How about that? Because I would not say it's cold. Might be lukewarm. We'll see. That is
a tenuous seat to be on as a GM. And look, all GM seats are tenuous based on stuff like that. Toxic Gaming asked what I was drinking. I am drinking one of Brett's favorite beers from down by him, which is delicious. The California Cali Creamin' Vanilla Cream Ale by Mother Earth Brewing. Again, made down in Cali. It is 5.0 by volume. Delicious stuff. Very, very easy, sessionable beer. I think I have one more of them. And so the Giants didn't get the touchdown. They got a field goal, and that's it. They kind of fizzled on that drive. There isn't really much else to say about that.
They're not down by 20. That's an improvement over normal Cowboys-Giants games.
Points-wise, it's close. As if you are a Giants fan, wouldn't you want to see a touchdown there? You would, especially against your rivals at home. That would be a preferable result. Again, the Giants are not a great football team right now. They have a bunch of good players. They can come together on certain weeks and beat teams you think they shouldn't. We both think they're probably still going to win tonight, but boy, they got to find a way to get into the end zone because we thought they were going to have an advantage in the run game. Zim shut that door pretty early. The run game has not been great for the Giants, and that puts it right back in Daniel Jones's lap, Brian Dable's lap. They're doubling neighbors again after the first snap.
Yeah, when they figured out they should probably do that.
they figured out they're going to lose real quick if they didn't do that, so they should probably do that and let Wandale try and beat them. And so far that plan's working. You've given up 3 field goals in the first half. You've got Dak and CD, and you're thinking, we've already scored a couple of touchdowns. If we keep scoring touchdowns and they keep scoring field goals, this game's going to end up where it is right now. We feel pretty good about that as the road team. So Cowboys sitting all right. They're definitely going to try and make some halftime adjustments. The Giants, there's some pressure. You're at home. You've scored 9 points. Can you win this game? You can, but the way you thought you were going to win this game probably isn't going to work out for you. We'll see some adjustments in the run game. Maybe it fires up. Maybe they break off some runs in the second half. Happens often in the run game. Guys wear down a little bit. You start to see some gaps open up, and 3-4 yard runs in the first half become 7, 8, 10 yard runs in the second half. It's possible. We'll see the balance, but it certainly hasn't gone the way they would have liked in the first half. I'm sure they would have liked to get at least one touchdown on one of those drives. Instead, all field goals. It's better than no points, but yeah, not great.
We had an interesting super chat from Matthew Wright for $5. Is the 49ers defense an issue? As much as I want Robert Saleh to be successful as a head coach, I'd like him back as our defensive coordinator. So what is the hallmark of the Niners defense over the last, let's say, 5 years, right? Or maybe since 2019 when they first went on that Super Bowl run. I think that was Nick Bosa's rookie year off the top of my head. So hallmark of the Niners defense, no matter who's been calling it, whether it's been Saleh, whether it's been D'Amico, whether it's been Wilkes for the most part, although less so. But it's rushing for, playing rather simple coverage. They live in quarters and they live in quarter half, and they rush for and they play sound coverage. They rally and tackle and they let their defensive line take over the game, right? So once upon a time, it was Buckner and Armstead, and then they let go of Butker and kept Armstead because Butker was going to be expensive, and so they drafted South Carolina kid whose name is escaping me right now that we saw in 2020 at the Senior Bowl. He ended up not really being a massive factor for them, but they had Bosa as a dominant edge. They brought in Charles Omenihu from Houston to be a really versatile inside-outside guy for them. Like they just always had defensive line talent. They bring in Javon Hargrave last year. They still have Bosa. They still had Armstead at the time. They no longer do. They were always a defense that was built off of the strength and depth of their defensive line. That defensive line is not playing well this year. If you're looking at, we talked about pressure allowed rates in terms of true drop back passes, non-RPO, non-screen, non-play action, drop back pass, pressure rate. Best pressure rate in the entire NFL so far right now is the Seahawks at 50%, which is absolutely nuts. The 49ers are at 26th at 30.6%. They are just behind the Carolina Panthers. So if you're in the same realm as the Carolina Panthers, wow, I'm surprised the Raiders are that low too. That's odd. Just looking at the numbers. How is that even possible?
You wonder how we end up on rabbit holes, and it's looking up stats like this.
The Raiders at 21%. Good God.
What are they doing there?
Chargers tackles did a number on them.
Yeah.
But no, like if you're in the same realm as the Panthers and you're behind the Falcons who have 3 sacks on the year, and you're behind the Chiefs who, outside of Chris Jones, are not really getting much pass rush production from anybody. Again, that's not good. So their defensive line isn't really getting pressure. They're not really playing the run super well. And this is a defense that's always been built off of the defensive line. So if the defensive line falters, what do you got? Fred can't do everything by himself, as good as Fred is.
He tries.
So I would say it's more of a, I don't even know if I want to say a depth issue, because injuries is part of it, but everybody has injuries, I would say, if anything, they have got to just start blitzing and trying to make up for their lack of defensive line talent with just creative blitzes and pressure packages and everything. Just try to get free runners, because if you can't get it, with Nick Bosa on his own, you got to get it with free runners somewhere else. So, weaponize the fact that you have Fred, who's probably the best hot coverage defender in the entire league. You can line him up in weird spots, make it look like you're going to blitz one way, bring it the other way, and still have Fred get to his landmarks to pick up guys in hot coverage. Weaponize that. Bring blitzes. You have a linebacker that can do it. So I would say that's the main issue with them. EJ, have you watched much Niners defense so far this year?
I have. I actually was really hopeful that Sorensen was going to be able to continue what has been an extremely strong tradition, recent defensive play for the Niners. They've been one of the better defensive teams in football over a stretch of years. Now, that doesn't mean they've been the top defense, but overall their consistency on defense has been pretty remarkable. And it's dropped off this year. And I don't think you have to look a lot farther than the center of their defensive line. Like Malik Collins is Malik Collins, Javon Hargrave, when he's healthy, they're both fine players. They're definitely both NFL players, productive NFL players, but they are not the guys that the 49ers are used to having in there. And it kind of looks like the Chiefs line when Chris Jones goes out. They're like, oh, yeah, we got all these other guys. Well, Chris Jones goes out. He's the straw that stirs the drink, and everybody else struggles to win their one-on-ones. You know, they can play single coverage pretty much all the way across, you know, and the Niners are finding that out when you've got one guy in Bosa who's had his own health problems, but when he's healthy, he is an absolute game wrecker. They've had two at the very least, sometimes three, and now they have one. And if he gets hurt, they're finding out that, yeah, you can't just sit back and rush with four. There have been a lot of defensive coordinators, I don't want to say guilty of that, but like used to that. Fangio was one, famously. Fangio wouldn't blitz for anything. He's going to rush four, and if his four aren't good enough, it's not going to look very good. Gus Bradley with the Colts, like his defense looked pretty solid, actually, if he's got four good rushers. If he doesn't, it doesn't. He gets picked apart. Like defensive line pressure cures a lot of ills in a defense. And the 49ers are not getting as much as they're used to, and they haven't adjusted yet. Fred's still playing great. He's playing out of his mind. The secondary, again, we've had like Charvarius Ward is great. Fanga is very, very good, even better than I thought he was going to be, and I liked him. Jair Brown's been playing pretty well. A lot of impact plays by Jair Brown. Isaac Yam, like, okay. I'd say he's an okay corner. He's not a difference maker. And they've gotten by with okay corners on the opposite side from the very good one. That's something San Francisco's been able to do, again, when they could rely on really good defensive line pressure. And they can't do that anymore. And Lenore looks like, I don't know, he doesn't look like he's playing as well. And I can't tell whether, again, that's just because he has to hold up for longer now. And so there's sort of more exposure there. But they've just leaned on that. And it's worked because they've had the horses to do it. And water down. And all of a sudden you kind of hit that point where it's like a tipping point, basically, where you go below it and all of a sudden, like, things don't work the same way anymore. And you can't just twist one lever and fix it. And you're never really sure it's coming until it shows up. And then you're like, oh, wait. Yeah, okay. We passed the watermark of where the talent drain on our major emphasis for the defense has now kind of made everything behind it be stressed to the point where our defense really isn't working at the same level it has before. So Sorensen's going to take some heat for that. He doesn't make the personnel decisions, but he's going to have to adjust.
I was trying to do a halftime entry on Underdog, and then I realized I hadn't actually turned my location permissions on, so they can't tell I'm in California. So unfortunately, can't do that for halftime. But just as a recap of what we
where
did.
are we with the two? I'm kind of interested so far.
So again, these were flex picks, so I just need 4 out of 5, right? I don't need all 5. We missed on Malik, so I need to hit 4 out of 4 for the rest of them. I need a Devin Singletary touchdown. I need 2 field goals in the second half from Brandon Aubrey. I need Daniel Jones to not throw 17 more passes. I took lower on 31.5 passing attempts. He's at 15.
Oh, this is not lining up well for you. And
then I need Dak to get like 95 more passing yards. I took him at higher than 260.5. He's at 164 as of halftime. So like I got to thread a needle on that one, but I can do it.
Like Dak, I'll give you no problem. Daniel Jones, it's going to be rough. They're going to have to start throwing. You got a kicker, but you got the wrong kicker because the other one's already kicked 3 field goals, and the Cowboys are scoring touchdowns, not needing field goals. So don't love the way that one's leaning. Like, I'll give you Dak, but Singletary, yeah, he could have. So like half of that slip does not look tremendous, and you need all 4 of them to hit. So
the second one here, again, it's a flex, so I only need 4 out of 5. So I got Patrick Mahomes at higher than half a yard because it's the free pick for all customers
it's the gimme.
This week. By the way, if you're already on Underdog, make sure you go do that. You have a Patrick Mahomes free pick waiting for you in the lobby right now. And if you're not on Underdog already, you can use either the QR code that I'll put up on the screen soon, or you can use the link in the description. Use promo code BOOTLEG. You get up to $1,000 deposit bonus, and you get both the Mahomes free pick and a Lamar Jackson free pick for this week. that you can use when you're doing these for your Sunday games. So I got Mahomes at half a yard, Brian Burns at over half a sack. He's gotten close a couple times tonight, but Kayvon's gotten
got
more
pressure.
to work. Malik at higher than 72.5 receiving. He's already at 59, so that one I'm on good pace
Feeling
for.
good about that?
I need Dak to be lower than 260.5 passing on this one because I play both sides. So that's the one I'm most worried about. And then I need Devin Singletary at higher than 61.5 rushing. He's at 22. So
Zim's stepping on your head about that, but you don't need. You either need Dak or Singletary on that one, basically.
There is a possibility where, depending on what Dak does, I could either win both or lose both. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see.
Oh boy, that's fun. 29 career passing TDs versus the Giants, second most versus the New York Giants, behind Sonny Jurgensen. There you go. Past Tony Romo.
Jordan Slater for $5. Is this game a must-win for the Cowboys? Their next 3 games are the Steelers, Lions, and 49ers, all feasibly losses. Yes. This is a must-win. It is not out of the realm of possibility that they start 1-6.
Yeah, I think it kind
even
of
if they win, they could be 2-5. Like, it's rough.
Right. That's the thing is, like, in the micro, I would say it's a must-win. In the macro, I'm not really sure this Cowboys team's going anywhere. Like, again, they've shown signs of life tonight, which is good. They stopped the run. I said at the very top of this thing, it was the number one thing they needed to do, and if they didn't do that, nothing else mattered. They are up in this game. They've scored touchdowns, not field goals. They've stopped the run. Cool. I'm not going to get super hyped about it. Yes, it's a division game. It's also the Giants. The Giants are not playing great football, and as you laid out, the schedule is going to get a lot tougher real quick. So, yeah, if they lose this one, it's super duper bad. If they win this one, I'm kind of going to go with they should have won this one. It's better than losing it, but it doesn't give me a lot of hope down the road that this team is going to be anything other than a Midland.
For people that were just watching this kickoff, Brandon Aubrey got Tyrone Tracy. He did the same thing that he got the Browns with, with these just swirling like scum kicks, like what you see in Madden, that are super hard to track. And it literally looks like it barrel rolls at you and it hits you right in the chest, and they're almost impossible to catch cleanly. So he got it to bounce off his chest. Tyrone Tracy did get it back, and he was able to start returning. But that is what Brandon Aubrey is doing. Is he is trying to do these kickoffs that are really, really hard for returners to catch on the run. The idea is he's trying to get a weird bounce off the chest that you either have to just dive on it and eat it at like the 10-yard line, or worse, if it takes a really bad bounce, you might be able to recover it. But Brandon Aubrey is like a interesting kind of super weapon in development because he's getting closer and closer to making that work. And it almost worked on Tyrone Tracy there. So throughout the season, you have to keep an eye on that. One of these days, he's going to get somebody with that kick. He's gotten really, really close.
And they fumbled it at the end of the return.
Yep.
They got it back.
Well, because it makes the returner panic. That's a good ball from DJ. It makes the returner panic, right? Because like they have to drop their eyes to pick it up off the ground and then pick their eyes back up and find where everybody is. Like, it makes it really, really hard to return.
So Daniel Jones just hit the Giants receiver NPC for a big gain. Again, this is what Slayton's doing. Like, his efficiency is good. He's never going to get you any yak, but again, just throw it to him. Talked about a Scud missile launcher. There he goes again. Like, I think what they did is they went in at halftime and they listened to the first part of this TNF live stream, and they're like, wait. Do you know that Darius Slayton is actually really efficient? We should throw it to him some more. They've come out, like Dable's come out and thrown it at him, 2 out of 3 plays, and one was a run that went for basically 0 yards because Mozzie Smith did his Michigan thing again.
I was just rewinding because I wanted to look at that stat they had about press coverage versus off coverage for Malik.
Yeah.
He's got like 1 target in press coverage and like 6 in off coverage.
Right. Because again, you laid that out on the podcast on Monday. Like, don't play off coverage against Malik and Rome. Like, it's not going to go well for you. Just don't do it. Of course, they did it well. They did on the first snap, but it was made worse by the fact that both of the defensive backs' legs broke.
Eric Gray,
really
you were no longer a kick
no
returner.
No one was injured. Yeah, well, after that, that's a pretty big scare. And Singletary running hard. He's going to have to keep doing that. Again, they came out with a run to open the second half, and Mozzie Smith said, "No, thank you, sir," in the most prolific way possible.
They really, really need this one. Like, as far as getting a touchdown, like they kind of can't afford to just waste another drive. Because eventually, Dak and CD are gonna pay some of these off. Yeah. I mean, they already have, but they're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly. They've gotten 2 touchdowns and you've gotten 3 field goals. just extend those 2 lines out to the horizon. It doesn't look good for you. So you got to change the calculus somewhere.
Well, that's a really interesting screen design.
I like that a lot.
Fun. And Tyrone got him. Let's go.
Nice.
I love Tyrone Tracy. He's so good.
Yep. He was one of my guys in the draft for sure. One of the people that was overlooked. Made a position change in college, started as a wide receiver, went to running back, but had some really interesting kind of more deeply seated efficiency metrics that, again, when you went back to the tape, you were like, oh, he's getting there. Like, he's scratching the surface. If he goes to the right place where they understand what they're getting, again, he is not a hammerhead, give him 30 carries and just have him run into the line type back. If you send him to that kind of offense, my prognosis for his NFL career would be poor. But if you get him in a versatile offense where you can get him in motion, yeah, it was the second shot that Jones has ripped on this drive. So we were saying that Dak was on one early in the game. Daniel Jones is on one early in the second half.
Shout out to Malik Neighbors for just taking an absolute pile driver of a shot here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
He got unloaded.
DJ, like, you could see him just whisper, "I'm sorry," as he let this one go. He just Austin Collied him.
Please catch it. Please catch it. If you don't catch that, it's not going to be worth it. Oh, boy. Oh, what?
Tank Lawrence is hurt.
Yeah, I'm not. Oh, boy.
That didn't look good.
A lot.
Okay, he's up, he's walking, but it looked like he caught him. He caught the MetLife curse there.
Oh no, we don't love the MetLife curse. Okay, great athleticism by Daniel Jones. Yeah, it did. It looked like
it just caught on him. Yeah, which, by the way, they did replace the turf. It's not the same turf that used to injure everybody, but I don't necessarily think it was the turf that was the problem. I think it's the vengeful spirits that are buried under the stadium.
Yeah, well, there is that. All right. Nice work by Singletary to pick through the line and get – there wasn't a lot there. He got everything that was there. Weird sort of float on that last play that Tank Lawrence went down on by Wandale at the sideline. He was just kind of like coasting out of bounds, caught it and kicked his feet out and like landed with his chest on the sideline. Oh, another Cowboy down. What's going on?
Is this Kendricks? I think it is.
It looked like it. Yeah, he's going to get his ankle retaped, I think. That's Tank.
Anytime you see the scissors out, you're like,
Yep. Yeah, going to cut that off. MetLife monster strikes again. Yeah, Jimmy Rodrigo, very possible. We hope not.
Jimmy
that was just a weird. Yeah, no, that's for a long time. That was the lore. That was where Jimmy Hoffa ended up.
That's great.
Foundation of the stadium, but that's just a weird play by Wandale. He's usually his awareness is usually a lot better than that. And he just kind of like coasted out of bounds when he was clearly the only outlet that DJ was going to be able to throw it to. Maybe he thought DJ was committed to running it and he wanted to make him a little bit of space. So he's like, I'll just kind of float out of bounds here and give him a lane. But it was just a weird thing. He threw it to him and he's like, I'm a yard out of bounds, dude. Like, this isn't going to work. Very odd play all the way around.
Ole S. Krabs for $5. Thank you, Krabs. What do the Bears do if Waldron/Flues can't coach Caleb? The coaching carousel and associated roster churn is killing us, but Caleb has to work out. They're going to do the same thing that they've done to the last two quarterbacks they drafted in the first round, which was, because they're cheap, refuse to do a full clean sweep and get a new coach at the same time as getting a new quarterback. And so they're going to do the same thing they did to Mitch, the same thing they did to Justin, which is fire the head coach and get a new offensive coordinator after the rookie year, because they already knew going into the year it wasn't going to work out, and they knew going into the year it was a last-ditch effort, but they're fucking cheap and won't hire anybody. And so here comes the third first-round quarterback in a row that's going to have to learn a new offense with a brand new head coach in his second year, a crucial year of development, because the McCaskies won't fucking spend any money, and it drives me insane. It drives me absolutely bonkers. They're not going to get Ben Johnson because Ben Johnson wants too much money. They're going to go to Bobby Slowick because he's going to be cheap, and I love Bobby Slowick, but like they're not going to go for a big-name coach. They're not going to go for like the most expensive coordinator. They're going to do the Bengals thing, and they're going to go the cheap way, and they're going to hope that Caleb is good enough to make them relevant, just like Burrow was good enough to make the Bengals relevant, even though the Bengals' spending habits have not changed at all. And we're seeing the catastrophic fallout of that because the Bengals won't pay their own guys, and so they have this dumbass like roster churn strategy where they try to nickel and dime it. Like, they're all just the Oakland A's. That's what they are. They just happen to be football teams instead of baseball teams. It drives me up a wall. Like, you get some billionaire from the Walton family, some distant cousin twice removed, to come buy the Bears and just write checks and fuck off, they'll win Super Bowls. But they won't do that because they're the Bears. And so everybody just has to be miserable. I'm done. I am so done with this family. They're bad because of the owners, just like every bad. I don't want to say anything really bad on stream. EJ, please take over.
Wait, we're talking about the Bears. You don't want to say bad things on stream?
I'm about to say some shit that's going to get me in real trouble.
I understand. Permaban, probably. No, the Bears will spend money on players, and they have. They brought in DJ Moore. They gave Montez Sweat the new contract. Now, you can talk about how that was handled, but like they will spend money on players. And that's fine. But their refusal to move on from Eberflus in the offseason, a lot of people defended that decision, especially when the Eberflus glow-up came on. Everybody said, it's going to be fine. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. I was not convinced that he was going to get markedly better, and it became clear you were going to draft Caleb, and it became clear that you were setting yourself up for the exact round and round cycle that Brett just mentioned. Bring in a highly drafted rookie quarterback, try one more year with the coaching staff, and that is a monetary problem. Like the player side, they're not cheap on the player side. They have signed big free agency contracts. They have traded for players that they knew they needed to pay, and they have paid them. Like they pay players. That's not the issue. When you say they're cheap, it's not cheap across the board. But they ran into financial struggles with the new stadium site over the summer, and they didn't really want to stomach because coaching contracts are guaranteed. So coaching is different than players. And they didn't want to pay a guy millions of dollars a year not to coach, even though that was probably the right decision. Folks that follow the podcast will remember that my call in the offseason was for Mike McDonald and Grubb. And everybody's like, Grubb, he's going to go with Kalen to Alabama. And he was. He actually did go to Alabama with Kalen.
For like 2 days.
But, Josh Snyder got on the phone and said, look, Ryan, I think there's a real opportunity for you to do something good here. Mike wants to work with you. So my dream pairing is currently the Seahawks head coach and offensive coordinator, which is great because they're in my backyard. I get to see them up close. I am very happy for Seahawks fans. And believe me, Seahawks fans are very happy about it. That team is 3-0, looking good. And, things are working in the right direction. The defense already looks like flat out killers. The offense is coming along. Gino's playing some pretty good ball in spurts. They're finding ways to win, and they're figuring it out. They're getting guys involved. And that's what I was hopeful for the Bears. I think that with Caleb and, again, the receiving core they assembled, all the talent they brought in, the defense was already good. There are a lot of great pieces there that Mac would have worked very, very well with. Like that fusion of Mac and Grubb and the roster that Ryan Poles has assembled would have Chicago as an early powerhouse of that division. They would be competing even with the Green Bays and Minnesotas of the world, who are playing very well and do, because again, they have really good coaching. Let's just throw that out there. Like, people joke all the time that Eberflus is the 5th best coach in the NFC North.
Dude, he might be 6th.
Right.
Like,
Anyways,
truly.
No, I get it. Like, I fully get it. But they didn't want to pay millions of dollars to a coach who wasn't going to coach for them. And they gave up what I will consider, it's not generational. I would say it's about half a generation. It's about an 8 to 10 year opportunity, because look, if Mike Mack continues to go the way he has gone in his early Seahawks career, he's going to be in the Northwest for the next 5 to 8, 9 years at least, if not longer. It's very possible that could work out. Of course, it could go south too. Like, coaching is a very fickle thing, but if you miss that opportunity and they're saying, "Oh, we'll do it next year," and they do dump Eberflus and Waldron if they don't do well and Caleb doesn't look like he's, progressing, then you go through the whole cycle again. And look, Mike Mack's not available this coaching cycle. There might not be a Mike Mack in this coaching cycle. So it's an opportunity cost, as well as probably the wrong decision at the time. And it's going to cost them. Like, look, they might go get Slowick. They might change their ways and pay Ben Johnson. Like, it could happen. I don't know that it will. And it could all work out. Caleb's a very good player, and I have full faith in him to be able to make it work when he's given a decent offensive line and an NFL level offensive strategy. Let's just put it that way. Like, when downs aren't wasted and calls aren't as confusing as they have been, I have every faith that Caleb is going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. I don't know if it will be under the current coaching staff. They're going to have to make some rapid and, I would say, marked changes to make that happen, because the early returns have not been great. It is a dull thud so far.
All right, 1st and 10. Cowboys are marching. They could theoretically, if they wanted to, they could go up by 10 here.
Yep.
Which is probably what they're going to try to do if presented between the option of go for an extra point to go up by 9 or go for 2 to go by 10. I think they'd rather go up by 2 here. So we'll see if they can finish the drive first.
Yeah, JJP is trolling me for $4.99. JJP, I appreciate you coming back. Always good to see you here. If Matt Canada becomes the OC of the Bears, I will take
EJ also will become a Vikings fan.
Yeah, I will take a long walk off a short pier. I will not enjoy that one bit. That would, yeah. I appreciate the $4.99. I appreciate seeing you again. It is always good to see you. Hell no. Let's just put it that way.
Oh man. I mean,
they
interviewed
well,
Clint
Brett.
Kubiak. They interviewed Kubiak.
Trust me, the list of coaches the Bears have interviewed in cycles and then not hired, including Bruce Arians, most famously, not great. It's they seemingly always make the wrong decision. In fact, someone listed all the candidates who were interviewed or available to be interviewed by the Bears and where they are this year compared to Waldron. Waldron, of course, was dead last on that list. His ranks for offense are in the 30s, not surprisingly. Clint's were, top 10, and there were several others sprinkled around the sort of mid-region, 14th, 15th, which again, for a, offensive coordinator and a new stop 3 games in, it's pretty good. But, they always seem to pick the one that's going to work out really poorly or the worst, which is the most frustrating thing.
Tyler Guyton just got called for another hold that wasn't actually a hold. It was just Kayvon tripping. So it's been that kind of day for him.
Been a night.
Kayvon tripped over somebody's foot and then fell, and the ref was like, "Yeah, Guyton probably did that." So
Guyton tried to hold him up. Cordell Flat with another good rep.
Yeah.
He's proved me wrong. He is, and good on him for doing so.
Jacobs 893, could you read my super chat? He said, your rant made me extremely thankful for the Wilfs owning the Vikings. They might be wrong sometimes, but at least they're anything but cheap. First of all, yes. Second of all, the difference between the Vikings ownership group and the Bengals ownership group is how many times did Vikings fans honestly think they were not going to pay Justin Jefferson? Whether it was 32 million, 34 million, 35.
Whoa.
Did he get that?
He got it. 60 yards, and it would have been good from longer.
Bang.
That was a brilliant kick.
Might be the best in the NFL right now. Truly.
That's good from a yard or two longer.
Yeah, that's 63 right there. So Vikings fans had zero anxiety. Like, they knew the Justin Jefferson deal was going to get done. They just didn't know what it was going to be. Meanwhile, Bengals fans are legitimately not sure what's going to happen with Jamar, right? Because we've been down this road before where they're talking, we want to keep T. Higgins. We want to keep T. Higgins, even though EJ and I have been telling you for 2 years that they're not going to keep T. Higgins. And they're like, he's an instrumental part of this offense. Like, we're obviously going to keep T. It's like, no, you're fucking not, because that requires money. And you watched Jesse Bates walk away. I mentioned Jonathan Joseph earlier. Justin Smith, by the way, once upon a time was a very good Bengal that they let walk out the door.
Extremely high draft pick.
Andrew Whitworth they let walk out the door, and then just didn't really have an answer at left tackle for a long time, so that was fun. At least not a good one. Jonah Williams giving up 11 sacks a year doesn't count. So, how many great players have the Bengals had that they're like, we love him, we want to keep him, and then they go get paid somewhere else. So, like, Bengals fans have a lot of PTSD. A lot of Bengals fans think they're going to sign Jamar, but they're not 100% sure. And that's the difference in the ownership, right? You never had a doubt that that Jefferson's staying in Minnesota. There's at least a little doubt where you're like, would they trade Jamar Chase? Like, you at least think, like, Joe, obviously, yeah, they're going to keep Joe. But they don't like spending money.
They literally renamed the stadium so that they could keep Joe.
Yeah.
Like, they went out and got a stadium sponsor because they needed the money. And they were like, well, we can't let Joe go, so we can't call it All Around Stadium anymore. We gotta go name it Paycor or whatever they call it.
Post-traumatic signing disorder.
Sure. Absolutely. Bears have that for a lot of free agents that show up and then turn out to be the worst version of themselves, which is hyper frustrating. It is very, very difficult.
Aren't the Bengals unable to put a ton of money in escrow because the owners are cash poor? Yes. And it's the same thing with the Bears. And it's the same thing with the Steelers.
The Bears sunk quite a bit of money into the optioning the rights for the Arlington Heights site, which is a possible site for the new stadium. And they did that right at the time when they would have had to make a coaching decision. And so the cash from ownership in terms of, we're going to pay a guy millions of dollars not to coach, and also we have to put all the money in escrow for the new coach, was a very unpalatable, I'm going to say somewhat impossible decision to make. They didn't have the cash to do that. Certainly didn't want to use the cash to do that, even if they did have it, and I think a lot of people think as soon as you're talking about B for billions that everybody's got the same amount of money.
Nope.
It is not the case. There are owners in the NFL who have just enough money to own NFL teams, and there are owners in the NFL who could buy all the NFL teams.
Literally all of them.
They could literally buy all the NFL teams. So, it's not going to happen because of the way rules for ownership are set up and whatever, but money-wise, if they wanted to, they absolutely could. That is not the same. It's like saying, I make a salary, so I'm fine, and I can pay a mortgage and eat some food, and then looking over at, your neighbor's driveway and their kid's driving a Lamborghini, and you're like, oh, wait, this is not the same.
Yeah. Gatien Laurel for $5. Hey, fellas, always good to hang out with Bootleg. Can you explain why exactly Mike McDonald's defense is so good? Same for Sean McDermott. Well, Sean McDermott, like they just coach fundamentals better than almost any other staff in the NFL. You know, in terms of developing talent to play.
Oh, developing DBs, it's
they're
not
unreal.
even close. Like
and linebackers
McDermott
too.
developing, yeah, I would say low round linebackers and DBs, because some of the best hits we talk about Christian Benford on the podcast coming out tomorrow. And if you don't know who Christian Benford is, figure it out. Like, you're gonna need to know. He is playing at the top level in the NFL as a corner right now. Not for the Bills, not for some unheralded guy. Like, some of his stats are the very best in the NFL. He is playing a tremendous brand of corner right now. And they just dumped Danny for a huge loss.
Marshawn Nealon sighting.
Yeah. And he's had some flashes early in the year. I like Marshawn Nealon. But the ability to draft, or not even draft, get undrafted free agents on your roster and have them play significant and high quality snaps is a superpower for McDermott and that staff.
And then when it comes to Mike McDonald, similar kind of thing. He's a great teacher. Their system is very simple, and we've dug into this several times throughout the offseason. Their system is very simple. They don't call that many coverages. They don't call that many fronts. They don't have that many pressure paths. It's very modular in the sense that they can call any front, any coverage, any pressure path together. And the way they teach their players is very innovative. They don't bog them down with terminology and verbiage and everything like that. So it's just a very modular, very teachable system. So everybody can just play super fast and rally and tackle. And, you know, they're aggressive. They blitz a lot. And I think that, like, that's modern defense. It's simplicity and aggression. Brian Flores does the same thing. He calls it different words, but he does the same thing.
Giants' brand of football tonight is quite frustrating. They are doing a bunch of good things. Daniel Jones is actually throwing the ball pretty well. He's shown some good accuracy. He's fit the ball into tight windows. He's taken some chances, I think correct chances. He's run a couple of times when he's needed to extend drives. Like, he's doing all the things, but as a team, the Giants are coming up short because it is one thing or another. It is, you know, again, 2 steps forward and then a sack, and then it's 3rd and 10. And Zim loves him some 3rd and 10 because he's going to pressure you into making a throw quicker than you want to, and then rally and tackle, and you're going to get 7.5, and he's going to make you punt. Or it's a false start, or it's a holding penalty, or it's a drop ball, or whatever. And all of a sudden it's 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 17 or 2nd and 20. And they take a couple steps forward, they get down, they are getting into Dallas territory, but then they're just kind of melting. They're just kind of falling apart. They're making plays. If you took all the good plays like a puzzle piece, if you took all the good plays the Giants made and hooked them together into 1 or 2 good drives, they would have touchdowns from them pretty easily tonight. But every drive, especially, this is why the whole conversation around defense and 2 high safeties, what people are really saying is they're just trying to make you take more opportunities to get the same distance on the football field, because it is very hard to do, because that consistency is very hard to achieve. If you give a team more chances, there are more chances they're going to make a mistake, take a penalty, get a drop, throw an interception, do whatever to stall. So you don't want 6, 7, and 8 play drives. You want 12 and 14 and 15 play drives, which are twice as long in some cases, to make teams try and stay disciplined and consistent and successful. It is a very difficult thing to do. You're just giving yourself more bites at the apple. It's like trading down in the draft and getting more choices because you know some of those aren't going to hit. So you just double your chances. And it's the same for defenses. If I can double the number of downs it takes for them to score a point, it's twice as many chances for them to have a coverage breakdown, twice as many chances for them to give me a sack, to, you know, anything that could go wrong for the offense that's going to put them in 3rd and long. And then all I got to do is pressure and rally and tackle. And they're probably not going to get it unless I screw up, unless my guys screw up. And like, it's nothing new, but Dallas is doing it very, very well tonight. And that's why we're only seeing field goals out of the Giants.
Let me put it to you this way: the average pressure rate allowed in the NFL in terms of true drop back pass game is about 33%, and ironically, it's the Bears, right? Didn't expect that, but they're dead ass average, right? So if you only have 5 to 6 passing plays in a drive at most, you might not get a pressure on that single drive. But if you make them throw the ball 9 times in a drive, you might get 3 pressures. And a couple of those might be sacks, or at least one of those might be sacks. And all of a sudden they're behind the chains, you have an opportunity to get off the field, or maybe they throw you one under pressure. Like,
Right.
people always say, like, oh man, like, you don't want the defense to be on the field for too many plays because they get tired. Like, yes, they get tired, but offense might also fuck up. And that's the key.
Yeah.
Another hold.
And the energizing thing to the defense is when the offense does falter. Now, when defense gets tired is when they don't. The offense can shove a 15-play drive down your throat. Yeah, you get tired because they're going to run over you, and physically, that's just a long time to be out there. But if you're out there for the same number of plays and they blow it, you get a punt or you get a turnover, you get a big sack, strip sack, fumble, whatever, like the defense comes off like we did our job, we're energized, we're handing the ball back to our offense. You're not near as tired as if, they just did a 17-play march and ended up with 7. That's demoralizing. It's tiring. Like, they do that a couple of times and you're going to be real tired, but you stop them a couple times, you get charged up. You're doing your job. Your offense is like, hey man, cool. You kept points off the board. We'll go score you some.
Look at it this way. The Cowboys have now run 33 plays tonight. They have 11 penalties in 33. Plus defense. They have defensive penalties.
We didn't talk about it, but the end of the first half became an absolute flag fest
because they're just getting called with holds, and but when you have 11 penalties and you haven't run that many offensive plays, and yes, there are defensive plays in there too, but I'm pretty sure most of their penalties are offensive. You're looking at like a 20 to 25% penalty rate on offense tonight for them.
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh no. They let him go. 2nd and 20. So the Giants just did exactly to the Cowboys what we said the Cowboys have been doing to the Giants all night. They got an explosive play on 2nd down. They got a tackle for loss. Brian Burns breaks through, nails CD on the little handoff. They drop a bunch. It's 2nd and 20. And then on 2nd and 20, they let him rip off. How many yards?
I think it was 10, so I think they got back to 3rd.
It was 9. It was 8 or 9. So it's
okay.
3rd and 12. Okay, it wasn't as bad as I thought. I thought it was a 10-yard run. I was like, well, now you're back to 3rd and 10, which is actually makeable as opposed to like 3rd and 18. All right, 3rd and 12. Dak can pick this up, but they throw short and not to the fullback. If they were in Dallas right now, they would be getting booed.
So I'm look at that again because it kind of looked like they were in.
I just don't love that call from Schottenheimer. Oh boy, he's going to get some ire from Cowboys fans on that one. That was not, that was a surrender play. That was not great.
I just watched it back. Every single route was 4 yards short of the sticks.
Yeah, it's a full surrender play.
We're running hitches on 3rd and 12 against cover 3. Like, it's cover 3.
Big punt return, too, out to midfield. Giants are going to start with good position here, and they are only down by 5. But you know what they say about those route combinations on 3rd and long? Hitches get stitches.
You don't even try to get the first down?
No, that was a full surrender 3rd down. Like, again, if they were at home in Dallas, they would be – you and I both know we've been to a Dallas game each of the last 2 seasons. They would be getting showered with boos, and rightfully so. Like, they did not have a chance to pick that up. They did not give themselves a legitimate chance. That was a we are going to punt play.
Insane.
You've only got a 5-point lead. You're not playing like it. Like, if you were up by like 21 points, sure, go ahead. Punt it away. Let your defense back on the field. No problem. They can go hunt. The other team's going to have to pass. You're only up 5 points on the road in a division game, and you just kind of roll over and go, nope, we're going to punt. Okay, that's a take. Don't love it, but it's a take.
Oh man, sorry, tweeting as I go.
Tweeting as you go.
I want to get to a couple more super chats here.
Heck
Fade
yeah.
NXC2 for $10. Thank you, Fade. Hate to see a great QB be ruined by bad offensive line play and an infuriating owner to the nth degree. Just to give you false hope. Now, I'll let you decide if that's the Panthers, Bengals, or Bears. Yes. All? Any?
Sure. It could apply in all categories. Again, it's kind of like sliders. Each team has a little more or a little less of one or the other, but all apply to all in some capacity. And it's not a good combination. Even if you're not a fan of those teams, it's just like not good football. Like it doesn't create good football. It creates bad football that is hard to watch. And it's that we are not fans of that.
RM Lightning for $5. Thank you, RM Lightning. So thankful that Jed York learned from the Harbaugh/Balky debacle. Ownership doesn't meddle anymore. Just need Ayuk to relearn how to catch. Yeah, Jed York is completely silent. You never hear from him ever. When, 13, 14 years ago, he was like a young Jerry Jones. You would constantly hear from Jed York. He just writes checks and he goes away. He lets Prague handle all the contract negotiations. He lets Kyle and John do all the drafting. He just says, okay, tell me where the money goes. And then he just, hangs out in the ownership box. And they've been successful. Go figure.
What are they going to make these two kids fight in the big hats? They got a Giants big hat next to a Cowboys big hat. Like, what's the point of that?
The game kind of looks like two little kids fighting too. So it's fitting.
Oh, man. All right. I want to see the Giants get on their horse here and get a touchdown because it'll be a lot more interesting if they do.
Again, trying to tackle Malik Neighbors in space.
Good luck with that.
Super ideal.
Good luck with that.
And then I think they're just going to roll out the quarter. Ages for $5. Early season hot seats. Doug, yes. McCarthy, I would say so. If they start...
If they lose this game.
Yeah. Stefanski and maybe Dable. I don't think Dable's... Well, 2 weeks ago, I would have said maybe because DJ just looks so bad. But the Cleveland game has me thinking maybe they'll putz around to 6 or 7 wins and then figure out a different quarterback in the offseason. If anything, Shane, I think, might be on a slightly warmer seat than Dable because of everything. The Hard Knocks was not kind
because
to Joe
of
Shane.
Gestures and everything. Yeah, no.
Now, if they only won 2 to 3 games, I think Dable might have been in trouble. But if he gets him to 6 or 7 again, which he's done that with worse teams, I think Dable's safe. Shane, I don't know. Stefanski, I think, is also safe too.
Yeah. Now, if Dable beats the Cowboys twice,
yeah,
that would be 2 of his 6 wins right there. Plus they're in division. That would go a ways with Mara. Mara would be happy about that.
He says, also, I'd love more Saints Bucks praise by Brett, signed a Falcons fan. Buddy, it's good, clean, old-fashioned hate this week.
Yeah, people just rooting for the curse. That's ugly.
Saints-Falcons is, to me, one of the underrated rivalries in the entire sport because there actually is legitimate hate in that rivalry. There's a lot of division rivalry games where it's a little lovey-dovey. Not Saints-Falcons. Not Saints-Falcons. They legitimately do not like each other. The fan bases don't like each other. The cities don't like each other. That's what makes it great. I'm actually kind of upset that we don't get more primetime Saints-Falcons games because they're always kind of batshit insane, no matter how good or bad both of those teams are. It's very rare to see one team just nuke the other one like we saw the Saints do at the end of the season last year. But they nuked them because they could, because they fucking hate those guys. Yeah.
Because they hate those guys. I love that. I'm going to refresh my beverage because I did not do it at halftime.
Go for it.
And when I get back, when we have a break, we will run the feature that I've been loving this year, which is where are you watching? Don't do it yet. Hold it. I want to see all those destinations because it is always super cool for us to see where everybody's tuning in from, what time in the middle of the night or day it is for you. That's just one of my favorite times of the week. So save it. I'll be back in just a second with fresh beer.
Eric Ciliacs, while EJ's going to get refreshments, for $5. This game is some combination of indictment of Dallas or credit to the Giants. Feel like DJ has played well and Dak too. I would say yes, it's a little bit of both. Definitely an indictment on the Cowboys for not being able to put this team away, for sure. They've just gotten bogged down by penalties and just really careless mistakes. I would say the Giants have played much better in this game than they normally do against Dallas. And the fact that they haven't fallen too far behind means that the typical Dallas formula against this team of, build a 15-point lead and then pass rush for the next 35 minutes, that has not happened. They've kept it close. They've kept it manageable. They're still running the ball, even though they just had a holding penalty. And that's kind of the Giants' path to victory here, is just keep it close and then try to get the ball last and win late. Like, they don't have the same amount of talent as Dallas, but they're not as far behind as they used to be. So, which is, again, both an indictment on the Cowboys and credit to the Giants. Because I don't think the Giants are crazy talented, but it's not as destitute as 2 years ago. Will Gallo for $10. Thank you, Will. Hey, as a Western Michigan student, I assume you mean Western Michigan, it's great to see Marshawn Nealon get drafted to my Cowboys. Became a fan during Jason Garrett. Don't hate. Who do y'all think Dallas should trade for to bolster the RB room? Ooh, as DJ takes a shot, and he didn't catch it. Let's see, who could Dallas trade for in the running back market? Who might even be available? And who's also worth trade? Like, I would say Dameon Pierce, but even then, I don't think Dameon Pierce would Roshan, chat said Roshan. That's not going to happen because Roshan's going to start for Chicago this week. They're not trading for DeAndre Swift because that wouldn't solve anything, nor Miles Sanders. Swift, please, God. Khalil Herbert, that's an interesting one. I could see them make a move for Khalil Herbert, get a little bit more dynamism in the backfield. I would say Gus Edwards, but I think the Chargers love Gus too much to let him go, and I don't think they're at the point yet where they trust Kamani Duvall to be the primary backup. Javonte, I don't think is on the market. Oh, Mostert, maybe. If the Dolphins go into full tank mode and they just start jettisoning assets, I could see Mostert. That would be an interesting one. Tyler Algier, I don't think Atlanta's letting him go because he's dirt cheap. The most realistic one I think we've named so far is Mostert. I would say so. Chuba, I don't think Carolina's letting Chuba go. He's too good. And he's been way too productive for them. All right, 3rd and 11 here for DJ. Let's see what he's got. Middle field close structure. Kind of looks like they're going to drop out into cover 3. I don't think they're bringing it. Yeah, they dropped out. Oh, they ran Tampa too. That's a fun little look.
It's the Wandale is the grazed water buffalo against all the hyenas again.
It's happened like 7 times this game.
I swear to God, that's how they draw it up.
Yeah.
And then it's like, we're going to throw it to you here, Wandale. And then you beat all these guys to the line, okay? Cool.
Giants are going for it on 4th and 3.
Kind of feels like they have to. We're in the final quarter here. Like, again, you're only down by, like, yes, 1 full score. You got to get a touchdown. It can't be a field goal, but.
Ooh.
Oh,
Neighbors
boy,
digs 1-on-1. Neighbors digs 1-on-1. Got it.
Yep. And it wasn't close either.
Again, Diggs backed off. He gave him space.
I know.
He got scared.
Close.
Can't get scared.
I mean, this speed will scare you, though, because if you don't get scared once and he runs by you, you're going to be real scared.
He backed off. He's like, oh, fuck. He's like, these guys are terrified of him. Like, get your hands on him. It's all you could do is
Yeah.
get your hands on him. Like, you had Florida State corners beat the shit out of him. Like, you're Trayvon Diggs. Like, you make like $20 million a year. Get your hands on the kid.
Yeah. Because honestly, if they shut him down right there, I'm not saying you win the game, but probably your win percentage goes up because now look at this. Oh, man.
They're just giving him free access every single play. Like, they are so
weird,
terrified of him.
Yeah, and stubborn because, again, the film says literally this team has thrown to this guy more than any team has thrown to any guy this year. Like, he leads the NFL in targets. It is no surprise that they are going to push the ball to Neighbors. And, again, nobody's turned them away from that, and I don't think anybody's gonna. They paid, big draft money for this guy, and they are going to use him. And so it's not like, oh, we're really surprised that they threw to Neighbors so much. Like, you can't be if you watch the film. I don't care which film.
It's just unbelievable the fear that he has instilled in these guys.
Oh, I don't like that hit in the lower leg, though.
I mean, he tanked it, but that could not have felt good. That'll be a monumental thigh bruise tomorrow. Well, that'll slow you down if you can't feel your left leg.
What's that? Winsnilliop. Guys, stop talking about the Cowboys. Please go back to the Bengals. You don't want that. Nobody wants that. That's just pure hate. It's not good.
Good cut.
Nice cut by Singletary. Oh, but he got no.
Yeah, those hyenas got to him eventually.
Well, right. It was Hooker that slowed him down enough that I really thought he was going to be able to turn that back corner.
Diggs cramped.
Oh, cramp. Just cramp. Yeah, he cramped. Yeah, he's trying to get that calf cramp out.
Well, I prefer that to the alternative.
Oh, yeah. No, it's like that's reasonable. That's
I love that Parsons like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna rub this out for you. Like, fuck the trainer. It's like, I'm just gonna take care of this for you, bud.
Like you haven't turned to a fellow traveler on the airplane and been like, could you rub this out?
You couldn't even get through
it. I couldn't. I tried. I was just having too much fun thinking.
Haven't you ever just turned to your bro and just asked for a little rub out just among friends?
Oh boy, this stream's going downhill fast.
I haven't even drank yet.
Couple injuries, stream goes downhill fast. All right, since we have a pause in the action, now you can type in where you're watching from.
I think, did I miss any other super chats? I don't think I did. Oh, Storm Hayabusa for $5. Need Jerry to just write checks and not make or be around any football decisions. Sorry, bud.
Been that way for a bit.
This is a feature, not a bug.
Holy cow. All right, chat was ready for it tonight. This is awesome.
Outside of Brett's house.
Yeah, right. Go check your window. Oh, Newburgh, Oregon. I'm going to be driving right close to Newburgh tomorrow morning.
Where's Newburgh?
Barrow Island's back from Newburgh. It's south of Portland. I'm not going to be over in Newburgh. It's actually really close to where our friends live in McMinnville. All right, Jacksonville, Kalamazoo, Swans and Wales. Awesome.
Let's go.
Iowa City, Phoenix, Munich, Australia, North Carolina, San Diego, Perth, Australia, Quebec. Very nice. Bloomington, Alaska, San Juan, Puerto Rico, Brooklyn, very
Tacoma,
close.
Aloke.
That's right. Several long spirals with my arm, but not that far.
We got Tokyo, Vietnam.
I know every week we've got folks from both sides, north side. I mean, Buenos Aires, Mexico, Norway, Faroe Islands, Philippines, Japan. India was here a couple of weeks ago. New Hampshire, Denver, Cleveland, Nova Scotia, Auckland, Atlantis. Dude, I am super jealous.
I've always wanted to go to Jamaica.
Yeah.
Olympia. Wait, Olympia, Washington? Well, how many Olympias are there, right?
Probably, yeah. Buffalo, Fort Lewis. Oh, I'm going to be driving right through Fort Lewis at about 6:30 tomorrow. Another Iowa City, Long Beach, Mercury, the planet. Oh, well, weather's going to be slightly warmer for you than it is for me, even though I'm going to L.A.
Boeing got you stuck up there too, huh? That sucks.
Mesopotamia.
We got Spain.
Green Bay. Yeah.
Kent,
Washington.
A lot of Washingtonians tonight.
Yeah. We're pulling a very strong PNW crowd here. Eugene. I'll be driving through Eugene as well, just a few hours later.
Fullerton, California. Let's go. My old stomping grounds as a
Alberta,
CSUF
Canada.
grad myself.
Right. There you go. Madison, Wisconsin, Silver Lake, Washington. Ann Arbor,
for the gentleman who lives in Silver Lake, what
EJ's
size
bathroom must be
Martens?
the other one. Says EJ's bathroom must be the other one because I was just in there like 2 minutes ago and you were not there.
Coatesville, Pennsylvania.
You're definitely not in EJ's basement because I'm in EJ's basement.
Is there really a town in Illinois called Bishabish? Bishabich? Bishabik?
Just keep saying it. It's going to keep getting funnier. Oh, New South Wales, Australia. Very nice.
Leipzig.
Southern Brazil. Yeah. Gainesville. Oh, yeah. Speaking of places that need a new football coach. Toronto. I'm in Brett's Walls. I don't like that. Just moved into that house. I don't like that. Waco, Texas. Go Denzel Mims. Oh, man. Pyongyang. Surrey. Hey, shout out to... Anyways, I was going to make jokes about Surrey. Spent a lot of time in Surrey.
Sugandese, Illinois. What is it with Illinois towns and having the wackiest names? Keep in mind, a lot of my wife's side of the family lives in Kewanee, so I have no room to throw stones. But Michigan towns just do not have normal names.
Grand Junction, Colorado. Beautiful town. Really like Grand Junction.
Sucking these nuts.
It's a country he hasn't been to yet. Minnesota.
Oh, we got the Kayvon Thibodeau holding B-roll. Poor Tyler Guyton.
Yeah, he's had a rough night.
Lillooet, BC?
Lillooet, yep. EJ's old biking grounds, indeed. I have been to Lillooet. Cool town.
Intercourse, PA.
I'm a sucker for...
There's a town called Intercourse.
Oh, man. This is like when they told you that Stone Forsythe got drafted in the first round. You were like, Stone Forsythe got drafted in the first round. Oh, man. Couple of Minnesotans in there, indeed. Lagandi, Italy. All right. Ooh. There you go. There's a town called Kinmount, Ontario.
That's good.
Oh, of course there is.
It is Ontario.
That's hilarious.
Plantation,
Sudbury,
Florida. Yes, there is a town called Plantation in Florida. Yeah, like a third of the NFL is from Plantation, Florida.
Yeah, no kidding.
There's an area of Georgia called Cumming. Yes, I'm very familiar with it. It's up on Lake Lanier on the southwest side of it, right next to Buford, which is where... So my wife works for Makita, a power tool company, and Buford was where their old office used to be because every power tool company on planet Earth has an office in Georgia because that's where Home Depot is based. But now... the new Makita offices are over in Flowery Branch, literally like next to the Falcons facility. They are like on Falcon Way. So anytime my wife goes to Georgia for work, she, gives a tip of the cap to the Falcons facility because they're neighbors. I love it up there, by the way. Lake Lanier's awesome.
Dude, Dak is 15 of 15 on first and second down tonight.
And he's made some crazy throws.
Yeah, he's throwing some absolute darts.
Don't say the lake's name too loud. Yes, there's a lot of superstition about the lake that shall not be named.
Oh, there we go. Edmonton, but I was in Vancouver, BC earlier today. There you go. Oh, yeah. Chattahoochee. Oh, boy.
Cardell Flott again.
He's
it's like his
having a
third
night.
or fourth PBU tonight.
He's playing very well in the system, and like the stats said, he was playing very well through the first part of the season. He's backed that up on the field tonight. He's made 3 or 4 really nice plays, and like this is a very sound football play from a defensive back. Good technique, stopped at the right time. Yeah, he's coming over the back, but not enough that's going to draw a flag. Like that much contact, typically in the NFL, is not going to draw a penalty flag. He is playing that right at the line where he needs to be effective. Oh, but he's got to.
And then, of course, he gives up a catch, right as we're praising him.
I don't mind if he gives up the catch, but he can't miss the tackle and give up the catch both. Like that's a bad combination.
Hey, Brett, do you have any NFL creators to learn about offensive and defensive line play? If so, who? What's the best way to learn fronts and identify fronts defensively? Brandon Thorne for offensive line is amazing. Can't go wrong with Brandon.
Friend of the pod.
For defensive line play, let's see. Is there anybody who's specifically?
Well, Brandon does both now because
that's true.
He realized. So Brandon Thorne does the Trench Warfare Substack and newsletter. If you want to learn about line play in general, mostly offensive line, yes, but he also grades defensive line and true pass rush win rate or quality pass rush win rate. I think it is. Yeah, QPR. Which takes out things like, the QB fell over and I was the nearest defensive player, so I got a sack. It also takes out sacks late in the down, 5 seconds in. Nobody's really counting that. He's talking about true wins, like true pass wins. So he does all that. Absolutely, if you want to learn more about line play, subscribe to the Trench Warfare Substack and newsletter. Great stuff. He has interviews with players one-on-one. In addition to his film work, he also does work for Offensive Line Masterminds with Duke Manyweather that we got to go to this year. One of the most tied-in guys for offensive line play in the entire league. Also does defensive line play. John Owing does a bunch of defensive line stats. He's a Cowboys fan, but does stats outside that as well and analysis for defensive line play. Who else does like pass rush stuff?
D-Line Vids on Twitter. D-Line Vids on Twitter is good for that.
Yep. A lot of good clips and explanations of what's going on or what you're seeing.
All right. Dak's changing something at the line. We got a quarters presentation pre-snap on 3rd and 7. They're kind of playing that pretty soft.
Oh! He missed the throw, and he probably took a decent whack. Oh, he's still standing up, I think.
Well, Kayvon smartly lit up.
I think Kayvon figured out that he was going to get a big old flag for that. So that's a very smart play. It's a heads-up play by Thibodeau.
Because he realized, if anything, Dak was like...
step away. He just gave him the two-hand touch because, he knew he was going to draw a flag.
Also, Terrence Steele.
Good, clean win, though.
Again,
he's... Good, clean win past Terrence Steele. So that would be one of Brandon Thorne's quality pass rush wins. Again, double hand swipe by him, ends up making contact. It's a clean pressure. It doesn't really count as a hit, but it would be a clean pass rush win for sure.
Steele has struggled in pass pro so much the last couple of years. They took a lot, or they have sunk a lot of assets into the offensive line in terms of draft picks, but like right tackle since like the peak of Lyle Collins, they have not figured out right tackle, and it's been like 5 years. Like Steele's had some good games here and there, especially as a run blocker.
Yeah, he was a dominant run blocker earlier on in that tenure, but the pass protection struggles have started to add up and make it so. You're not running the ball that well as a team anymore. So this big strength we had over there in a, let's say, value right tackle who turned out to be a very good run blocker, and our run game was pretty good. That was, complementary pieces helping each other out. Now we can't run so much, and you're giving up a bunch of clean, pass protection losses. Not great.
I think they really need a heavy investment at right tackle in this upcoming offseason. But it has to be cheap. It has to be a draft pick. They can't do it through free agency because they're spending too much money.
It has to be cheap. I love that. But they got to invest heavily, several dollars at least.
Here, let's say the Cowboys are average this year, right? And then everybody gets fired. I could see them being the team that goes up for insert LSU offensive tackle here. Because
absolutely,
good God, they need it. Not for the left side, but for the right side.
Oh, Noah, if we missed your super chat, we might have gotten to it, but just type it in again. Don't add any more money. Sorry you've lost power a couple times. If we see it come through, we will answer it for sure.
Are you in Tampa, Noah, or around the general Tampa area? Because I think the hurricane's hitting like tonight in Florida. So hope you're doing all right there. Because last time I checked, it was up at Cat 4.
Yeah. Ollie Brew, EJ, thoughts on the JSN usage this season? I think it's been pretty good, actually. It's been much better than it was last year under Waldron. And JSN tried to tell us. CHGO had an interview with JSN at, I think it was the Super Bowl. And they said, hey, well, it sounds like Waldron's headed to the Bears. What do you want to tell us about Shane Waldron? And he was like, is this live?
It's like,
good luck. That's literally what he said in the interview. And everybody was like, ha ha. And now they're like, oh, he wasn't kidding. Like, damn. No, his usage has been much better. He has not been the focal point every week, and I think that's fine because DK's gone off, and again, his usage has also been better. He hasn't been forgotten about until the fourth quarter and then realized, oh, we've only thrown at DK twice today. That happened a lot during the Waldron tenure. So I think there are going to be highs and lows for him, but I think there will be weeks where he is the focus. I thought last week, to my discredit, was going to be one of those weeks, and he got 3 catches for 13 yards or something. So it's going to rotate. And Lockett is not at the peak of his powers anymore, but he hasn't gone anywhere. He is still winning with route running. He is still one of the best contested catchers out there. Like, they're going to rotate between all 3 of those weapons, but JSN's going to have his moments.
Steven Bonsignore for $10. Super chat before. What is both your hottest takes on the league this year? Mine is a fully healthy Green Bay running back room. Jacobs is the third, or in a fully healthy Green Bay running back room, Jacobs is the third or fourth most talented running back. I would say he's top 2, but personally for me, like, I'm a huge Marshawn Lloyd truther, so I'd say Marshawn Lloyd's the most talented running back, but I think Jacobs is probably the second most talented running back in that room. The thing is, Marshawn's been hurt, and Jacobs is consistent, and they're making it work. I mean, more than consistent, I would say. Like, Jacobs is good, but I think if Marshawn Lloyd was fully healthy, he's going to be their next Aaron Jones, and Aaron Jones at his peak in Green Bay when Jones was healthy was phenomenal. So, but I would say Jones is top 2. I don't think they have anybody else who I'd put above Jones personally. All right, 3rd and 4 here for DJ. See how he does, and then I'll get back to Noah's super chat. Which, by the way, everybody who's watching from Tampa or Florida in general, hope you guys are doing okay. I know some of you
did it again. God, I can't stand this. I can't stand this tenet of Dable's system, which is I will always throw it short to Wan'Dale Robinson. I will not design that man a route that goes to the line or further. I will not. Bangs the table and walks out.
I think it's more a function of I don't trust Daniel to throw it long to Wan'Dale Robinson.
Get him a crossing route. Get him a rub. Get him a pick. Like, whatever. Like, do not, send him out and run a little hitch a yard short of the sticks, or 2 yards or 3 yards or 7 yards short of the sticks.
I look at it this way.
Guess what's going to happen?
If you're
going to
if you're going to give the crossing routes to somebody, it's going to be Neighbors or Slayton. And you're not going to have Slayton do all the underneath shit. So it's like, that's just his role. I'm not saying it's ideal, but.
No, he got it. Like Singletary got it, but still, like, why are we doing this? Why are we? I realize that up until this point, up until tonight, the Cowboys' run defense has been highly suspect. So maybe you think that's just a gimme, but certainly hasn't been tonight. You're putting yourself at the mercy.
So Noah said, don't remember the exact wording, but it was just about the viability of the Steelers winning a playoff game if Fields takes the next step and continues his improvement under Arthur Smith. 100% they can.
Yes.
All Fields has to do is not take bad sacks and not turn the ball over. They're going to run the ball well. Even with their offensive line injuries, they've run the ball well. And they're going to play dominant defense. Like, literally, they just need Fields to contribute some dynamism here and there with his legs, manage the game as a passer, don't turn it over, don't take bad sacks because they're not built to dig themselves out of holes from taking bad sacks. Ooh,
Micah.
They're very much like the Giants. The Giants are not built to dig themselves out of holes. In terms of getting way behind the chains. Like, that's all Fields has to do. And that's all he's done so far. So, yeah.
He was on Hayward's. He was on Hayward's podcast today. Did you see that?
I did.
Yeah. Yeah. If you haven't seen that, chat, go check it out. Justin Fields on Cam Hayward's podcast. Yeah. Pretty decisive in terms of his opinions of his former stops.
And he's not wrong.
Nope. He's absolutely not wrong, which again leans to the I don't want to say theory, leans to the credence of pretty much everybody turning out to be their worst self in Chicago, which is super, super frustrating. Yeah.
I think you might have to go for it here. 4th and 6. I don't think you can justify doing anything other than going for it.
You got 3.5 minutes. Like, if you want to win the game. Well, come on.
They have 2 timeouts, but I still don't trust them to get off the field right now.
No, Wandale needs to catch that ball. That's all there is to it. Like, he's got to catch that ball. Maybe that's why they don't run him across the field, because he's just not great catching the ball without his numbers turned back at the quarterback. Because I'm not going to say that was an easy catch, but that was a catch a professional wide receivers got to make.
They gave what you wanted, though. They gave you the crossing route.
They did. And Dable's like, see, EJ, I gave you what we wanted. He freaking dropped it. Now what do you want? How about we run a hitch?
Yeah, punk.
Yeah. And I'm like, you're not wrong at this point. He catches the hitches. Aegis for $5. I forgot to say, I finally got a new job. Again, we celebrate everybody getting their bag on this podcast that didn't involve moving to Bellevue for Bezos money. There you go. This is for the mods to buy more perfect jerseys.
Which, by the way, the mods, specifically Cure, sent me this one, a nice vintage Brock Osweiler Broncos jersey, which I wear with fondness tonight.
Nice.
I gotta say, Broncos orange is pretty nice.
I don't mind the color scheme. Strange. Bears fan likes dark blue and orange.
It's not as good as the Broncos throwbacks, but then again, nothing is as good as the Broncos throwbacks. So,
yeah, Seahawks throwbacks.
Yeah, that's true. And the Dolphins throwbacks.
Yeah, there's many things as good as the Broncos throwbacks. Let's not say there's nothing that good.
Probably the Falcons throwbacks. The Eagles throwbacks. Basically, every jersey was better in 1995, I think, is what we're
Falcons are going to wear the red helmets soon.
They said Micah is down. I don't know how serious it looked. I just saw him on
somebody's
his back.
Like down or just banged up. Don't know. I'm watching a Popeye's chicken ad, so I can't tell you. Falcons throwbacks are the best ever. They're certainly the best Falcons uniform ever. That's for sure. Did you see that the Lions are going to wear their black alternates with the Honolulu blue helmets?
I did.
Opinions?
I know a lot of people were not fans of them. I'm neutral. Like, I think they're fine. I would even say they're like above fine. I don't think, like, if I'm ranking all like the alternate jerseys, they're not in my top 10. A lot of people had like a ton of hatred for them. I liked them. I think the best part about it is the helmet personally, but I liked them.
No, that Demivirus says they look a bit panthery. It's true. They do look a bit panthery. I actually think they look like a
Oh, he's
Parsons
getting
being helped off with 2 trainers. Not good. He is walking. That is good. But
walking
that is
under
not a good look if you're a
assistance.
Cowboys fan. Yeah. That is not a good look if you're a Cowboys fan. Really an NFL fan, because Mike is a tremendous player. He's been taking a bunch of hate this year because the Cowboys have been sucking, but like Micah Parsons is a really, really fun football player.
Did we see a replay of what it?
Let's see. Jimmy Rodriguez had a guy hit him in the lower half in the back right to the ground, and then another guy fall on top of him.
Oh, yeah. That could be one of many different things.
Got bent over in a lower leg injury. That's not great. Hate to see it. Very good player. Okay, DJ, what do you got for me here? Did he get it?
Oh, no, he lost control. Did he get knocked out?
All right.
Did Neighbors get knocked out?
He's not moving. He's not moving. I mean, he's moving, but he's not getting up, is what I should say. Like, that was...
I didn't even think he got touched.
Yeah.
Did he get knocked down just from falling to the ground?
I don't know. We're going to see. Okay. Did he just straight head?
Oh, yeah. He just landed on his face.
Oh, and he went limp when his head hit.
I think he was out.
Look at this. Watch his body just go completely limp when his head hits.
Oh, yeah. He's out. He's completely out.
Oh, dude, that is not great.
That's a bad one.
Dude, back-to-back plays, you lose Micah Parsons and Malik Neighbors. Like,
fuck.
Do not love. He's going to be in concussion protocol for
immediately
a bit. No, he's for the rest of the game. Like, he does not look like a happy camper. Oh, man.
And if you saw how he landed, it almost looked like it was the same action as like when you take a hit to the jaw, because a jaw can knock you out. People don't think like, oh, but you didn't get hit in the brain. Like, yeah, but the jaw can cause a recoil. And like, that's kind of what it looked like, is when the face mask came up, it hit him in the jaw, and that's what knocked him out.
I wouldn't doubt that when we see him return, whenever that is, whenever he clears concussion protocol, if that's next week or a month from now or whenever he gets back, that he's wearing the additional jaw padding on his helmet, the one that extends out,
because that's what that's for.
Exactly what that's for. That was just an awkward angle. It's not like it was a bad push or a late hit or anything else. It's just he was doing everything he could to keep his feet in bounds and extending, and he literally landed first on his face mask and just caught it wrong and knocked him clean out. That's
Parsons was on the cart, by the way, which is not good.
Yep. No, they looked at him for a very brief time in the blue tent and were like, nope. And taking you to the X-ray room.
I think the worst part about it is he's trying to get a new deal. Like, he hasn't been paid yet.
Well, this went from like, gee, I hope the Giants can score, to like much different and darker storylines in about 60 seconds.
If that's a serious injury for Micah and he doesn't have his contract yet, that is exactly why players hold out. That is exactly why CD held out.
Yep. 100%.
Because that shit can happen.
No, Cowboys run game looking just about as effective as it has for most of the season, which is to say, not so much.
Oh man, this game.
I know dark. we were cruising along. We were having a fun game, a division matchup, and then literally one of the brightest stars is rookie, and one of the brightest stars in the league go out on back-to-back plays, and that's just a wet blanket on all kinds of fun. That's terrible for both of those players. I hope they both heal up quickly and well, and that, for Malik, that he takes all the time he needs, because he was out. Like, as soon as his jaw hit the ground, he was out. So,
yeah, you can even see his eyes right now. Like, he's just...
Oh, he got rocked.
Yeah.
Like, he got absolutely rocked. if
Hunter
you have
Lepke,
ever
man.
been knocked out. Yeah, if you've ever been knocked out yourself, or you've ever been around somebody that's been knocked out, the waking up part ain't great.
Mm-mm.
Like it is not cool. TNF is cursed. Well, TNF in the Meadowlands is about as like star-crossed as it gets. Like if you were gonna like shake your one iron at the sky and say that you can't get hit by lightning, don't do it on a TNF game in the middle of the Meadowlands, because you'll get hit.
Maybe Hunter Lepke can save us. Well, he's been the only one making
Dude,
plays.
he got dinged up earlier too.
Oh,
Okay. There is a straight up "you're not running anymore" rep from the Giants defense. Like
poor
Zeke's
Zeke.
like,
Poor
I remember
Zeke.
when they used to hit like that. Holy crap. Oh, I had not thought once all night about Tommy DeVito.
Tommy Cutlets.
Yeah, Tommy Cutlets is now on my television, so I can no longer say that I haven't thought about him once.
No matter what both teams lost today, I think America lost today.
Well, I had very little argument from that. Somebody still has to win this game. The Cowboys are currently leading it. The Giants, look like they're going to pull another stop here, but I'm not so sure that, especially with Neighbors out. Like, Neighbors is their designated deep strike weapon, and they don't really have another one. Like, there's not another guy like, oh, well, if they're not going to throw deep to Neighbors, they'll definitely throw deep to Slayton? Maybe,
deep to
definitely
Wandale.
not going to. Not throwing deep to Wandale. They don't have a super fast receiving tight end threat. Like, they just, like, that's why they got Neighbors. They desperately needed a guy that had size and speed, could win contested balls down the field. Without him on the field, I realize it's not that many points. It's that many points because
Also,
the Giants aren't built to score them.
If I read it correctly, okay, so it's 2nd and 13. We're just now at the 2-minute warning. Giants have no timeouts, right? So if the Cowboys just run it twice, like if they go anti-Eagles with it, if the Cowboys just run it twice, at best, you're getting the ball back with no timeouts and Daniel Jones and no Malik Neighbors, down by 5 with 35 seconds to go. Like, unless the Cowboys do something stupid and try to throw and then have it be incomplete, which they should not do. They should learn from the Eagles. Like, that's, if you lose at that point, if Daniel Jones drives the field in 35 seconds with no Malik Neighbors, then yeah, everybody's getting fired tonight. But in theory, this should be a very winnable game. Like, I would say it's like 95% Cowboys right now.
So, Cowboys fans, if you really don't like the current coaching staff, you are hoping for a Daniel Jones miracle, because I am with Brett. If that tiny sliver of a possibility was to occur, I don't think Jerry would take it very well, and there might be some vitriolic response that included some firings.
Luca brought up an interesting point. If Malik is wearing grills, can he also wear a mouthpiece to reduce the impact that results in concussions? So keep in mind, the reason why people wear mouthpieces is so that you have something to bite down and clench on, so that you are less likely to get knocked out with a hit to the jaw. I don't know if what he had was a mouthpiece that had a grill on it, or if he was just wearing a grill. But if he took that shot to the jaw from his helmet without wearing a mouthpiece, that might have been what contributed to him getting knocked out. In which case, if I was the Giants coaching staff, I would say you're never doing that again. So, I don't know if he's wearing a mouthpiece or if it's just a normal-ass grill. But either way, he should be wearing a mouthpiece, or else you can get knocked out like that real quick.
Everything went as well as it could be expected for the Giants until a few minutes ago. That's such damning praise. That's terrible. Like, they are down by 5, but everything was going perfectly for them. if everything was going perfectly and you're down by 5, you're just bad. Like, I'm sorry, you're just bad.
So Cowboys are in field goal range. This is going to be like a 50-ish yarder for Brandon Aubrey. So let's just chalk this up to 23-15.
I was going to say he absolutely crushed the 60-yarder. Like, he just swung through that thing. It didn't even look like he was really straining, and it would have been good from 61 or 62. So,
which means you're going to be down by 8 with. It'll be less than 30.
Oh, seconds. No! It hooked! That ball hooked right off his foot. Like, that looked like somebody yanked it with a string.
I am shook to my core right now. Brandon Aubrey missed a long field goal.
Dude.
Did I do that? Is that my fault?
No, I was saying the same thing, but literally as soon as he kicked that thing yanked right. That is wild.
I think that one might have been my bad. Sorry.
I think that might have been my bad. Oh, you know what's coming next. Oh, Daniel Jones drive down, please. Oh, my God. If they hit some crazy long pass with a missed tackle and score a touchdown here, Jerry is going to blow a gasket.
Let's put this to the test. There's no way the Giants can win this game.
Oh, boy. Oh, Wandale.
Let's see just how bad Daniel Jones is.
Well,
put this to the test.
I mean, he heaved that, and Hooker gambled and missed, but Wandale is not tall. Oh, and dude, he could have had that. Nope, just not tall.
Well, unfortunately, I missed on both of my entries tonight.
Do I get to pick them next week?
Probably have better luck than me.
Maybe. Okay, well that's
even with no Micah, they've gotten good pass rush here.
Yeah, again, Giants offensive line pressure stats not great coming into this game. Let's see, sixth most pressures in the league at 44 before tonight. So not a rock solid pass blocking unit even before tonight. So,
do we see the bomb to Wandale?
Well, there was one. You didn't catch it. So, all right, DJ. Oh boy, he's
just hoping for a
double
PI.
Coverage. Nope, that's
nope.
it.
Okay,
that's it. We're done.
He definitely wanted the PI though.
Sure,
that's what they're going for.
Absolutely. Oh, Warrior.
Armani or Warrior?
Yeah,
he's still kicking around. How about that?
Wow. The Giants fans are like, what did we just watch? And you're like, you know exactly what you just watched. It is Giants football. Like, you signed up for this. You even wore the jersey.
And you know what's
that's a good catch.
It is.
Like, that is a good hands catch. I'm impressed.
I think what's really upsetting if I was a Giants fan, other than like injuries, I get that.
Sure.
What's upsetting is that this Cowboys defense hasn't been good. And this Cowboys offense hasn't been good.
Yeah.
And they just never were in control.
Yeah, you can celebrate this if you want to, if you're a Cowboys fan, and say, hey, we beat our division rival. Sure, you picked up the game. All the wins count the same. It's ones and zeros, but you do not, in your heart of hearts, come away from this game as a Cowboys fan going, oh, yeah, we look like a really good football team. You scored 20 points against the Giants. Not awesome. And you allowed 15 points against the Giants. Also, super not awesome. And as we said earlier, the Giants did a lot to help you out there. A lot of penalties, a lot of miscues, a lot of, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, killing their own drives. This was not a well-oiled machine that you got in the way of and slowed down. So when you do, because you know that's coming in a 17-game season, you know you're going to step in front of a bunch of teams that have it going on. And if you look down your schedule, Cowboys fans, you're going to see them. And how do you feel about going into those games? Not really any better after this particular show.
Next week, they go to Pittsburgh. And if you can't block the Giants, and the Giants have a good front, like they do have a good front. Like, this is not me throwing shade at the Giants. Like, their D-line's good. If you can't block the Giants, you sure as shit are not blocking the Steelers. Terrence Steele is going to give up like 4 sacks to TJ unless he is literally double teamed the entire day. I don't have any faith in Guyton right now handling any combination of Highsmith and Herbig. On the interior, I think they have a better shot of handling the Steelers' interior D-line, but like Cam Hayward's still Cam Hayward. Like Benton's made plays, Ogunjobi. Like I don't think they're going to be able to block Pittsburgh. I really don't. And then I don't think the Cowboys' defense is good enough, especially in the run game, to stop the Steelers' run game. I think they lose. I think they go to 2-3, and then after that you got Detroit, who's coming to town.
Yep.
Not exactly, and I know Detroit's banged up, but that's not exactly easy. You got the 49ers, which is surprisingly winnable considering everything we talked about the 49ers earlier, where their defensive line's falling apart. Hargrave's out for the year with the Pack, and like their depth isn't there, and it's like Nick Bosa versus the world. So like that's actually sneaky winnable. And then you got the Falcons, and you got the Eagles, then you got the Texans, then you got the Commies, then you got the Giants again. Like, this could be a 4-win team by Thanksgiving. A 5-win team. I'll be conservative. It could be a 5-win team by Thanksgiving. That ain't good. Like, that really ain't good.
Not what anybody in Dallas and Dallas fandom is hoping for, that's for sure. Again, I don't think you can go, hey, wins better than a loss. True story. Do I feel a lot better about my football team on offense or on defense after tonight? Injuries included? I do not. I have more questions than I have answers. And the road doesn't look like it's getting any easier. It's many weeks until we see these Giants again. And they almost beat us. We certainly gave them many chances to. That does not make you feel great as football fans. So take the win because it's better than a loss, but you do not wake up and not call into your favorite talk radio show and give them holy hell about how the Cowboys are still the Cowboys, because they kind of are. Giants fans, unfortunately, you're used to this. We know lots of you, and it's tough and no fun, and it's more of the same. Hopefully Malik Neighbors comes back again quickly and well, and it is a minor setback, not anything more than that. Certainly scary, but even when he does, this is a football team with limited horsepower. Like they have to play perfect football to win, and that is hard to do. And if they play anything less than that, they're not built to make it up. And that just means you're kind of waiting on pins and needles for the first mistake every week, and then going, can we overcome this? Are we really going to be able to get those 3 points back? And that's a tough place to be as an NFL fan, but that is Giants fandom for now.
At least next week, the TNF matchup we have is a good one. It is Falcons-Bucks. So I'm excited for that. It's going to be a really good NFC South clash. I want to thank everybody for coming by tonight. Again, before Sunday's games, go to the QR code on the screen or go to the link in the description if you want to do pick'ems for this Sunday. Obviously, I'm going to be putting out some before this weekend. And if you know what's good for you, probably fade all of it because I'm probably going to be wrong, judging by how things have gone so far this season. But if you are new to Underdog and use promo code BOOTLEG, you get up to $1,000 in deposit bonuses. You also get the Lamar Jackson free pick, and you get the Pat Mahomes free pick. And every single week they have a whole bunch of fun boosters, like a profit booster, a TD vulture protection, like all that kind of stuff. So again, it makes games like this one a little bit more watchable in the end because we're rooting for some stuff. Thank you again to Underdog for sponsoring the stream. Thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you to our patrons. Thank you to all of our diehards. Every single Thursday, we love spending with all of you. So once again, we will see you tomorrow with our Week 4 preview show, and then back at it again on Monday with the Week 4 recap. And we will see you all then.